Chapter 663. Leave the rest to me. Chapter 663. Leave the rest to me. Guan Hu's martial spirit fruit tree, Lu Miao's gold battleship, and Lin Meng's original universe returning cauldron were activated at once. Long Zhu's 5 elements primitive realm seemed to struggle under this combined force. At this moment, Ruo was continually urging his ghostly spirit sword, manipulating the sword to attack here and there. Long Zhu felt tired of trying to fend them off. Long Zhu was solemn. He was making many hand seals to gather the 5 elements' power to supplement the consumed and damaged areas and balance the realm again. His 5 elements primitive realm had the 5 elements' power as the energy supply. Once this power lost its balance, this realm would generate some dangers he couldn't estimate beforehand. When he had reached the peak of True God Realm, he had continually used the essence Qi in a special simulation to convert the 5 elements' power, pouring it massively into the 5 elements' primitive realm to maintain the balance of this realm. Sure, Yen hadn't recognized the pressure from the outer world. After he took in an amount of crystal clear soul power, new soul consciousness energy flooded the sea of consciousness. His soul was supplemented, increasing his control power of the utmost 8 purgatory city. However, the loss in his essence, Qi Halo, hadn't recovered yet. He was still waiting for the mysterious martial spirit to filter the essence Qi. At this critical point in time, he still maintained a clear and firm state of mind, as he didn't dare to distract. If he let the negative feelings affect his mind, he would never be able to strengthen the utmost 8 purgatory city again. What surprised him a lot was that this time the essence Qi filtering process didn't generate many negative feelings. This was thanks to the time he had spent to madly refine the beast's bodies. Every time he did the refining work, his mind and spirit were always calm, and his soul sublimated. It brought him an indescribable benefit. He suddenly felt lucky that he didn't rush to use the Creator's divine pawn to enter the true God realm when he had reached the 3rd sky of spirit realm. Stabilizing the realm was the task a warrior had to take care of very carefully. Otherwise, Mara would appear, making himself his own enemy. The conscience was the biggest enemy of a warrior. If he couldn't get over the challenge in his heart, the danger it generated would be tremendous. If it weren't serious, it would be just a matter of time for bedevilment to happen. If it were serious, his soul would shatter directly. His right deeds had helped him keep his mind during this filtering process. This was the big advantage from his mad forging of treasures. Without that tranquil time when had refined his soul, at this moment he couldn't have been able to stay still to wait for a long while without making his soul disorderly. Outside the Silver City, Lin Meng, Guan Hu, and Lu Miao had put forth everything using the divine secret treasures to deal with Long Zhu, which affected the balance of the 5 elements primitive realm. They wanted to break this magical realm. Long Zhu was indeed inexplicably intimidating. Under the siege of the true God realm warriors, he didn't show that he was in a disadvantaged situation. Although his 5 elements primitive realm was distorted a little bit, it stood firm, covering the front of the Silver City. Yen Ku and Wen Di hadn't taken action yet. The relationship between them and Long Zhu wasn't shallow. Although they took different ways, they couldn't use fatal strikes to attack each other. Thus, they didn't join the team to break the 5 elements primitive realm. That's why Long Zhu could still resist. His realm hadn't been destroyed yet. Qin Guchuan, Lin Meng, Guan Hu, and Lu Miao looked to the master of the Heaven Temple with cold faces. I don't have any divine weapon. Sai, if I use them, I don't have anything else. Currently, I have only 2 pieces. I want to keep them to deal with the pagan tribes. Qin Guchuan beamed a forced smile, hauling the extinguishing divine mind from his storage ring. The divine mind was fist-sized with many pores. As soon as it appeared, the divine mind thumped like a heart. This was a dangerous weapon of the Heaven Temple. The extinguishing divine mind was created from 7 types of strong wind, with almost 1,000 different kinds of auxiliary materials and had an intimidating power. Heaven Temple consisted of 7 families. Each family guarded a subterranean cave from where strong winds rushed out constantly. They had collected the strong wind from 7 caves to refine the extinguishing divine mine. It took 1,000 years to collect the wind and refine the materials to produce 1 piece of extinguishing divine mine. Different from the others' divine treasures, the extinguishing divine mine was a consumable item. If they used 1 piece, they couldn't restore it. However, the power of this divine mine was extremely intimidating. It could explode a city like the wonderful stone city, slaughtering every creature. Qin Guchuan had only 2 pieces of extinguishing divine mine. Normally, when a heaven temple was in an extremely perilous situation, they could use 1 to kill all the enemies instantly. He didn't want to attack in order to save the divine mine to have better support later. Heaven Temple didn't have a divine weapon, so this extinguishing divine mine was the life buoy for them at the very last moment. If it weren't so strenuous, he wouldn't want to use it. Under the scolding of the other 3, Qin Guchuan had to take out 1 extinguishing divine mine begrudgingly. Extinguishing divine mine. Yun Hao, who stayed 3 miles away from the site, discolored. He shouted immediately, "Everybody retreat for 3 miles more. We need to stay as far as possible from this silver city." Wan Jiang discolored, shouting, "Retreat! Quick!" They all knew the dangerous feature of the extinguishing divine mine. It was the best representative of the divine, exploding class. Once it was used, everything would be destroyed. Anybody who had heard about the reputation of the extinguishing divine mine didn't wait for a further explanation. They madly ran away as if they had seen ghosts. Qin Guchuan swung his hand, shooting the extinguishing divine mine towards the 5 elements primitive realm. Long Zhu's face became grim. It was the first time he was enraged. He used his soul to control the 5 elements primitive realm, crazily urging 5 elements power. He rose his voice. "Qin Guchuan, you dare use the extinguishing divine mine. I won't care about you guys anymore. I'm not going to defend only from now on." He used the 5 elements primitive realm to defend only, protecting the Silver City and giving Shi Yan more time. Before the battle, he had told Shi Yan that he would only help him to resist, and he wouldn't kill the members of the 7 ancient factions. Even when Lin Meng, Guan Hu, and Lu Miao started to use the divine weapons, he didn't change his rule, as he actually didn't want to turn his back to the 7 ancient factions. No matter what, in his heart, the 7 ancient factions were the members of human clan. He wanted to use his best to keep the light of humanity. He didn't want to see people at the dead end. However, when Qin Guchuan took out the divine mine, he was enraged. The appearance of the extinguishing divine mine meant the 7 ancient factions had determined to play the game to the end. Not only killing him, they also wanted to kill everybody else in the Silver City. They didn't give him the way back. Long Zhu couldn't press his anger anymore. His shout made Qin Guchuan hesitant. The extinguishing divine mine was trembling in the air, flying around the 5 elements primitive realm. It hadn't fallen into the realm yet. "Qin Guchuan, what are you doing? You were the most ominous person before we come here. It's the critical time. Are you about to quit?" Nia Rua was so angry that his face turned purple. He thundered indignantly. "That oldie isn't any good. We are trying to restrain him. He can't hurt you. He is just trying to scare you." "Oh." Lin Meng coldly glared at him. "Qin Guchuan, if Shi Yan doesn't die this time, you'll have no chance later. Don't worry, when you use the extinguishing divine mine, we will attack with full force. The alien tribes are still out there. Do you think you still have time or another choice?" Qin Guchuan's pupils shrank. He finally made up his mind, pitching his voice. "Old Long, don't blame me. You've chosen your way. If you don't want to take care of this relationship, we won't care about you anymore." Then the extinguishing divine mine fell rumblingly, disappearing into the 5 elements primitive realm. seeing the extinguishing divine mind falling into the realm. Lin Meng, Lu Miao, and Guan, who had retrieved the divine weapons they had released. They stayed far away from the 5 elements primitive realm, as they were afraid of getting involved in the attack range. Although it was the divine weapon, on getting hit by the extinguishing divine mind it would be damaged. That's why these 3 people had tried to avoid this impact. No sound was made, no earth-shaking explosion, no strange phenomenon in the sky. However, Long Zhu, standing atop the city wall, spat out blood. He paled instantly, as if someone was squeezing his heart violently. He crouched, convulsing in pain. The 5 elements primitive realm was connected with his soul. Under people's attentive looks, it shattered like a torn sheet of fabric. An energy shockwave expanded in people's heart. Many low-realm warriors fell, blood trickling from the 7 holes on their faces. The 5 elements primitive realm was ripped into pieces. Light glowed, as small light dots were sparkling and shaking, releasing the aura of formidable energy. Long Zhu was shaken, falling on the ground, his face grimaced. The rigid outer wall of the utmost 8 purgatory city turned into stone chips when the light dots touched it. The wind blew them away immediately. The entire massive outer city with barriers, restraints, and formations, all made by many people's effort, turned into dust instantly. While the dust was scattering with the wind, earth-shaking explosions reverberated, hitting people's souls. A strong earthquake happened right where Lin Meng and Yun Hao were standing. The firm ground cracked, as if someone were trying to tear it apart. Long Zhu tried using the last beam of his energy in an attempt to build the 5 elements primitive realm one more time. At this moment, Lin Meng, Lu Miao, and Guan, who had manipulated their divine weapons the 2nd time, to prevent the 5-element power from gathering with each other. At this moment, the most mysterious oldie of the divine great land was covered in blood, as if his face was destroyed. He looked pathetically feeble, and his soul got damaged badly. Why does he need to do that, Sai? Yen cursed deeply, her face begrudging. She felt sad because of Long Zhu's situation. She knew that even if Long Zhu didn't die, it would take him a lot of effort to recover. Move! Now! As the city wall was destroyed, many passages appeared in the direction of the city center. Yang Tian Emperor and Di Shan's group disappeared into the passage immediately, as fast as lightning. Shi Yan supported Long Zhu's himself with a respectful expression. He pulled the old man into the city center. "Little buddy, I couldn't get you an hour. I'm sorry." Long Zhu was covered in blood, talking mournfully on his shoulder. "Enough. You've contributed enough," Shi Yan said with a calm voice. "Leave the rest to me." Chapter 664. Change the structure. Chapter 664. Change the structure. Shi Yan covered Long Zhu while running as fast as if he were flying. He reached the city center shortly. Many warriors of the Yang family, the Dark Devil clan, the Winged clan, and Human clan were still busy adding materials into the formations and barriers inside the city. They all looked solemn. Long Ying, Li Feng Er, Yang Shui, Yang Meng. The 4 little girls were chatting boisterously, as though they didn't know about the heated battle out there. When Shi Yan put Long Zhu down, Long Ying glided to them while crying in fear. "Grandpa, what happened to you?" Yang Tian Emperor, Di Shan, and Li Zhengrong stepped over, bowing respectfully to Long Zhu to show their appreciation. Without Long Zhu, the city wall would have been broken earlier, and many people would have been killed already, leaving Shi Yan no time to prepare. "I'm okay. After 8 years, or 10 years, I'll be recovered." Long Zhu said calmly, but only he knew how serious his wound was. Warriors at his level wouldn't get hurt easily, but once they got hurt, it wasn't easy to recover fully. As Long Ying heard him say that he needed 8 or 10 years to convalesce, she immediately understood that her grandpa was hurt badly. She couldn't control her tears, sobbing. What old Long's done for us, we will keep it in our minds forever. We will follow his words to preserve the human bloodline. Shi Yan's face was serious, standing in front of the others as if he just needed to raise his hand and pledge. Who did that? Lin Meng's team, right? Long Ying gritted her white teeth, her cute face indignant. Sooner or later, I'm going to ask them to pay a bloody price. No need for sooner or later. They will know what they have messed with shortly. Shi Yan looked at her. Don't worry. I won't let old Long get hurt for nothing. I know who did that. I will absolutely not let them live comfortably. Long Ying nodded heavily. Shi Yan, are you prepared? Did we make it? Long Zhu said in a feeble voice, his face solemn. It was what he couldn't put aside. Enough. You've given me enough time. If the 7 ancient factions want to break the city center, I will make them lose half of their team. Shi Yan's voice was calm, but the corners of his mouth show his icy cold intents. Boom, boom. The vast outer city walls collapsed under the bombardment from so many treasures. All of the barriers, restraints, and formations were destroyed. Lin Meng's group was shaken. From their location, under the immense, hazy gray sky, the city center stood alone, as if it was within reach, and they could ruin it at any minute. From the beginning until now, Lin Meng, Nia Ruo, and the others had consumed a lot of energy. They thought that once the city wall was down, Shi Yan's people would be exposed. At that time, they could kill his men effortlessly. However, seeing the power of the outer city, even if they had already broken it, no one dared to be the pioneer to attack the city center. Nia Ruo's eyes were as sharp as the cold sword. Murderous aura wound around his sleeves, guiding the ghostly spirit sword to sense that strange area. Ghostly spirit sword intruded the place under the hazy gray sky, circling one round. Suddenly, it made a buzzing but ear-splitting sound that could irritate people on hearing it. Nia Ruo changed his visage, shouting in fright. That place is perilous. It has so many invisible barriers and formations. The number of barriers is several times bigger than the outer city. After that, Lin Meng, Qin Guchuan, Guan Hu, and Lu Miao grimaced. Damn it! Qin Guchuan's mouth distorted a little bit, talking with an enraged voice. What kind of F** king formation has that kid built? Why is it so hard to break? If I had known it earlier, I would have come here before they finished that damn city. We should have killed them earlier. Everybody stayed quiet, as resentment surged vehemently in their hearts. Before they came here, none of them had thought that this group of traitors could be so hard to deal with. In their eyes, Yang Tian Emperor and Shi Yan were just 2 clowns, and it would be a piece of cake to eradicate their streaks of existence from this world. However, after they started the operation, they found the reality was beyond their estimation. It was just the outer city wall, but it had cost them a lot. As it's accelerated to this point, we must kill them. The seed of resentment is planted. If they can grow stronger in the future, we, the ones who are present here today, can't avoid their malicious revenge, stressed Lin Meng. Shi Yan had given her so many unwanted experiences. Originally, she didn't care much about Shi Yan, but now she regretted it. Everybody knew how touchy Shi Yan was. They finally saw his potential. At this moment, no one dared to look down on him anymore. From now on, he had become their most dangerous enemy. We must break the city. We must clean them up. Nia Ruo pondered for 3 seconds, and then pointed at Feng Shao all of a sudden. You go and check first. If you find something, come back and report to us immediately. We need to know what is inside. Feng Shao, aka Madman, didn't hesitate. He laughed crazily and shot towards the city center like a rainbow. 10 miles away from the battle site, Yun Hao, Yuan Jiang, and Bei Si brothers were scared. They all looked grim. It's unbelievable that Old Long stands on Shi Yan's side. I thought he was there to only solve the dispute between the two sides. Yuan Zhang's face was odd. He shook his head as he thought that he had misunderstood Shi Yan. That kid, is he worth Old Long's protection? I can't see what good sides he has to receive Old Long's favor. In fact, I didn't agree to clean them up, but I don't want to see Lin Meng's team bearing losses. They will be the main force to counter the alien tribes soon indeed. Yun how arched his brows. I think Old Long has bet on Shi Yan, although I don't know why. I believe in Old Long's wise vision. Pausing for a while, Yun Hao gave Yuan Jiang a deep look and muttered, "It's been so many years. Have you ever seen Old Long make mistakes? Especially when it's time to consider the future of human clan." Yuan Jiang was struck. Divine light shot out from his eyes as he pondered. He was the hegemon of the fighting union, and he had experienced many things over the years. Every time Long Zhu appeared, he would lead people to get over the calamity. Sometimes they couldn't explain his operation. However, eventually the reality proved that he was correct. This time would it be the same? Yuan Zhang's mind was as tangled as a messy bundle of cotton threads. He didn't dare to dig further. It's unbelievable that Shi Yan boss is so cool. I know that whoever dares to underestimate him will bear big losses eventually. Lao Li laughed contentedly. When we were in the dark, magnetic, noxious mist, Shi Yan boss' realm wasn't high. But he had surprised the ones who were much stronger than him. And in the end, all of them had to face a miserable ending. Anyhow, they are the leaders of the 7 ancient factions in the divine Great Land this time. Kid. Bei Si glared at him, scratching his head as he wasn't so sure about anything. So what? Lao Luan pitched his voice, shouting, "Shi Yan boss is stronger." He was at the early stage of the Sky Realm that year, and today he has reached the peak of Spirit Realm. I long to see the day he enters the true God Realm. I always have a feeling that when he reaches the true God Realm, he will change the structure of the divine Great Land. Change the structure. Bei Di seemed like he was hit by a big rock. He shuddered, asking instinctively, "What structure?" Perhaps the 7 ancient factions won't rule anymore. In the future, Shi Yan's force will be the strongest force of the divine Great Land. I know my assumption has no proof. However, Shi Yan's operations always fill with unimaginable things. I believe in him. Bei Si and Bei Di changed their countenance. Zhu Yi and Tang Yuan didn't say anything. They were all frightened. Lao Luan had wiped away the thick mist in their minds, as they seemed to see future at that moment. "Tangji, what do you think?" Ji Mu of the Radiant God cult looked at Tang Yuan Nan. "You are more familiar with Shi Yan. Do you think he has that ability?" Tang Yuan Nan contemplated for a while, as if he were considering his words. "I don't dare to make any guesses. However, that year when he was in the endless sea at the Sky Realm, he had troubled many spirit realm experts. Eventually, he had depended only on himself to make the Yang family the overlord of the entire sea. The history will repeat, perhaps. Who knows? Ji Mu, Yu Ing, Bei Si, and Bei Di changed their visage on hearing him. I think we should consider our future seriously," Bei Si said with a concealed meaning in his words. Bei Di nodded in agreement. "We need to wait for the result. As long as they can overcome the challenge of the 7 ancient factions, they will have a future to talk about. At this moment, it's a little bit early, I suppose," smiled Zhu. Although they said positive things in their minds, they only had a vague hope for Shi Yan to win this battle. They were waiting for a miracle. Lin Meng, Nya Rua, Qin Guchuan, Guan Hu Yenku, and Wendi were watching the immense gray sky ahead of them carefully, waiting for Feng Xiao to come back with his report. It had been 15 minutes since Feng Xiao had broken in the city. They had no information sent from him. Right when he entered the city, he seemed to vanish into thin air. Even Lin Meng and Guan Hu, the ones with powerful souls, couldn't feel his soul aura. Gradually, they couldn't help but feel their hearts sinking. They could see the city within their reach, but it was like a viper waiting in the dark to attack anyone who dared to trespass its territory. "We can't wait for too long," Lin Meng suddenly shouted. The others nodded. They understood that the alien tribes were watching them. They didn't have much time to waste like this. "We should attack now," suggested Qin Guchuan. "I agree," Niat Ruo answered. They rubbed their fists, taking out the divine treasures again. They started to accumulate energy, preparing for the most furious attack wave. But suddenly, a light appeared in that hazy sky. That light wasn't dazzling, but everybody could see it clear enough. The object projecting that halo was Feng Zhao's head without the body. His ashen face still wore the most frustrated despair and fear, as if someone had skinned him alive and he had experienced extreme tortures when he was alive. Everybody felt their hair raising. Chapter 665, Naked Provocation. Chapter 665, Naked Provocation. Feng Zhao's head trembled, and a light glowed slowly. People could see it clearer now. At this moment, not only Lin Meng and Niarua could see the head, but also could the warriors at Sky Realm and Nirvana Realm. It seemed when Feng Zhao was still alive, he had borne an extreme pain. His face was still filled with a deep fear, as if he had seen the most frightening thing in the world. It was so harsh he couldn't forget, even if he were dead already. People who saw the head felt an extreme fear swell in their hearts, as shivers ran down their spines. The raging thought of launching an attack ceased, as if someone had poured a bucket of cold water on it. Their enthusiasm vanished. From 10 miles away, true God Realm experts like Yun Hao and Yuan Jiang also saw the head, their faces becoming odd. Under people's gaze, Feng Zhao's face suddenly twitched, cracking an eccentric smile. Boom! His head exploded. Blood splashed as if someone was using a brush, dipping it into the blood to write 2 big bloody words in the air. "Come here." This was provocation. Naked provocation. Even if it were a stupid warrior, seeing these 2 bloody words, he could understand the malignant intention of the people in the city. Yun Hao and Yuan Jiang couldn't say anything, dropping their jaws in awe. At this moment, shouldn't the people inside that city be frightened? Shouldn't they be anxious? Shouldn't they be desperate? Why? Why didn't they seem to be afraid of anything or anyone? Lin Meng, Nia Rua, and Qin Guchuan seemed as if someone had slapped them furiously, stomping on their faces. They grimaced. This was the biggest humiliation they had ever received. They dared to provoke them like that. They had provoked the several thousand years old rulers of the divine great land, the masters of the 7 ancient factions. "I can't help it." Nia Rua acted as he burst out with madness. He leaped up, grabbed the ghostly spirit sword, and stormed forward, disappearing into that immense, hazy gray area. Lin Meng, Qin Guchuan, and the others put on a gloomy and evil visage. They were hesitant, but afterward they screeched and thundered strangely, taking out their divine weapons and jumping into that area. They didn't care about being careful, making a strategy, or the whole picture. Everything was washed away from their heads. Their blood was boiling. Their pride and reputation were stomped over, and they couldn't bear this. They forgot they should survey more carefully, swarming over the city like the barbarians with the only thought of killing. Too arrogant. Too arrogant. If they don't die, we will be enraged to death. Wendy's face reddened, thundering. What the heck has Old Long chosen? Haughty. I've been in the divine great land for so many years, but I haven't met any arrogant kid like him. Insane. A madman. No wonder why Lin Meng couldn't stand them. They're too arrogant. Yen gritted her teeth. Her facial wrinkled, twitched in rage, as a murderous intention rose in her heart. The 5 True God realm experts were so angry, as if someone had raided their ancestors' tombs. They weren't afraid of anything now, just jumping into the city to extend their slaughtering. City center. Shi Yen beamed a faint smile, his face freezing cold. They come indeed. Turns out the so-called leaders of the 7 ancient factions can get frenzied if someone stabs their sore spots. Well done. Long Ying applauded as she felt better now. Although you look like a beggar, once you take action, you have a different charisma. I like it. Manly enough. Arrogant enough. Littling. Your grandpa isn't dead yet. The most important thing in your life should be waiting for my permission. Don't let him charm you. He is a crazy man. I'm not going to allow you to have a relationship with him. Long Zhu's beard convulsed as he tried to nag his granddaughter with a dry cough. However, smiling intention was sparkling in his eyes. He felt good, apparently. Lin Meng and Niarua had joined hands to hurt him. Everybody should be enraged in these circumstances. Although Long Zhu was a noble and self-controlled person, he was still a human, and a human should take his revenge at the convenient time. Seeing Lin Meng's group act like a snake that got stomped on its tail, getting agitated indignantly, he felt pretty comfortable, and he could spit on them too. Might be because of his good mood. His pale face glowed a little bit. When he looked at Shi Yen, he felt that he was started to like this young man more and more. Not long before, Long Zhu was still a wild, enthusiastic young warrior. He used to stand prominently on the divine great land, giving a headache to so many hotshots. He seemed to return to those years, seeing the arrogant Long Zhu of that time. In the divine great land, during his youth, Long Zhu was titled the devil incarnate. When he got older, he became concealed and started to know how to consider the whole picture. He stopped messing around. Looking at Shi Yen today, he felt he could see himself from his youth, having a marvelous feeling. I like him that way. Long Ying chinned up, smiling until her eyes narrowed. She threw a punch into the air, talking cheerily. Compared to him, Luo Yu and Yu Lu are too weak. Stars twinkled in her beautiful eyes as she looked at Shi Yen. Yen Gij, you aren't married, are you? What do you think about me? Hearing her, Bing Qing Tong, Han Chui, and Li Feng Er became quite uncomfortable. Shi Yen slightly shivered, but it wasn't because Long Ying had startled him. Shi Yen suddenly felt the mysterious energy rolling into his body. This was the second wave of power filtered by the mysterious martial spirit. He had guided the first wave of mysterious energy to the essence Qi halo to supplement it. The second wave was stronger, but at this moment his essence Qi was abundant. He didn't need to absorb more. The Silver City had attacked and killed many warriors of the 7 ancient factions. The essence Qi released from their dead bodies was massive, much more than his expectation. However, at this moment, he didn't want to use the strange energy to refine his body. He didn't have much time. Thus he considered, and then his eyes brightened. He extended both arms, holding Long Zhu in his embrace. Long Zhu's senile body shivered, as a strange light shot out from his eyes. Ah! Long Ying covered her mouth, let out a low scream. Yengiju, what are you doing? Even if my grandpa doesn't approve of the marriage between you and me, you don't need to do that. Yang Tian Emperor's group was also surprised. They didn't know why he acted like that. However, they didn't react. Only Long Ying was shouting, as she didn't understand anything. She thought that Shi Yen wanted to make Long Zhu agree with him or something. A strange feeling filled her maiden's heart and slowly enlarged. Phew, phew! Long Zhu panted. His pale face started to glow, as a strange vitality was surging in his shriveled body. Everybody was struck. Bing Qing Tong and Han Chui reddened. They seemed to recall some romantic memories. They blushed, their eyes watery. This is the vigorous vitality. Li Zhangrong was astounded on looking at Long Zhu. He suddenly shouted in a hoarse voice, "Old Long has recovered." Long Ying's soft body shivered. She couldn't hide her happiness. How come? How could it be? Sure, Yen put the old man down, while his eyes still sparkled, smilingly. Old Long has given us a lot. I just offered him a little as a small compensation. Long Zhu was glowing healthily. He turned his head, looking at Shi Yen disbelievingly. He didn't say anything, but he understood. Long Zhu knew Shi Yen had a big secret. The mysterious energy from Shi Yen had healed 1/5 of his damaged areas. His tendons and vessels had received a new vitality. Old Long, if we can continue, if we have enough time, I can help you recover as before. Shi Yen cracked a smile. Long Zhu was struck. His senile face was filled with joy and astonishment as he gazed at Shi Yen. I was not wrong. Ha! I chose the correct path. I suddenly could confirm resolutely that we will be all right this time. We all will be safe and sound. Shi Yen just smiled and didn't say anything. Rumble, rumble. However, explosions reverberated from outside the city center. Lin Meng and Nia Ruo gradually appeared. They were furiously attacking the city with the divine treasures. Everybody still sank in the big fear. They discolored, but the fighting will arose in their eyes. Never underestimate them. Shi Yen, you must be careful. Yen Ku and Wendy aren't easy to deal with. Be careful, Long Zhu advised. Okay, I know how mighty they are. I'm not too stupid to fight face to face with them. I will wear out their power. Wait until they are weakened and tired out. Then I will give them a big surprise. The edge of the perpetual night forest. Bao Ao looked at the magic mirror floating in the sky, beaming a faint smile. They've started. They do want to kill each other. Excellent. Leaders of other alien tribes grinned fiendishly. We can start now. Wait until we arrive. It's time to clean up everything. Bao Ao nodded, then signaled the demon clan's hotshots. Move. Wait a second. At this moment, Comoros suddenly shouted, Should we greet the owner of the perpetual night forest first? Bao Ao and Jie halted. Xian Ming's the owner of this forest, the sage of the monster clan. If we trespass this place without telling him, the others won't notice, but it's Xian Ming. I suppose we should pay him a visit. Comoros explained, his face grim. Monster clan's one of us. Although Xian Ming rarely shows himself, I think he still pays attention. At least, we need to know his attitude. That old man isn't easy to talk with. All right, Bao Ao nodded. Xian Ming's reputation has spread far enough. I also admire him. We should visit him then. Leaders of the other 4 clans also agreed. They discussed a little bit and then changed the direction, heading towards Xian Ming's black pool. Chapter 666, The Utmost 8. Chapter 666, The Utmost 8. Bao Ao, Jieji, and the 4 other leaders came to the black pool. They frowned, looking at the murmuring black water in the pool. The thick black smoke hovering year-round above the black pool was drawn away. The pool was quiet. They didn't see any spiritual qi moving or anything strange. However, right in the middle of the pool hovered a line. Do not damage wantonly. Apparently, Xian Ming wasn't here. He just left them a thought, as if he had known beforehand these people would visit him. Comoros's face was as cold as water. He pointed his left index finger. A light circle rippled, entering the center of the pool and touching the line. Shortly, a flow of soul energy twirled around his soul like a snake, trying to drag his soul into the pool. That soul energy carried an intent domain of forbidding, which could enter deep into people's soul and restrain it. Comoros was good at using soul techniques, but his soul was still restrained. He suddenly felt chilled, as if many snowflakes were covering his body. His consciousness became hazy. Bao Ao and Jieji, the leaders of the 2 ancient families of the demon clan, could see the fear in the other's eyes. The monster clan wasn't good at using soul techniques. Everybody knew it. According to common sense, even if Xianming had supernatural abilities, he could never restrain Kameros. Moreover, it wasn't he attacking himself. It was just a soul intent domain he had left. Kameros' soul was subdued so much that he couldn't wiggle even a bit. From deep inside the eyes of the dark spirit clan's leader, which reflected no emotions, a rainbow-like light sparkled, shooting towards the black pool. However, when the light touched the words, it was scattered, as if a thunderbolt had smashed it down. The eyes of Kanti, the leader of the dark spirit clan, were disordered. Gray, fine curves appeared on his body, tangling with each other. They formed a connection with the shattered light dots, pulling them back to his soul. Corpse Chief of the Corpse Clan was still staying in his big coffin. However, he diffused a thick corpse chi, expanding and covering the black pool. Long afterward, the big coffin suddenly shook. Cracking sounds echoed from inside, as if someone was biting the bones. It was horrifying. His corpse chi dispersed and couldn't be gathered again. 3 Yama kings, Abi, Haitian, and Hades stood still to protect the dim halo, inside which an illusory image floated. It seemed to sense the movement of the black pool. After a while, a trembling soul flow that only the 3 Yama kings could feel was sent out from that dim halo. Yama King Abi discolored in fright. He shouted, "Xianming has taken one step into level 10. He understands how to use the divine domain. His intent domain can generate thought and send back to his body, even if he's 10,000 miles away." Hearing him, Kameros and Kanti of the Dark Spirit clan shivered. Later on, their countenance restored to the normal state. The intent domain that had affected them scattered quietly. The black pool was still quiet as usual. The leaders of the 5 clans weren't so comfortable. Only Bao Ao and Jed Ji could pull themselves together shortly. Their eyes were calm and dark. I have never expected to see such invincible expert of the monster clan in this continent. Bao Ao pondered for a while and then spoke up again in a low tone. No wonder. It's been so many years that we'd been sealed in the space cracks in the foreign land. The situations there were so harsh. Our realm and power couldn't progress, but degraded. Besides the human clan, the monster clan is one of the races that stayed in the divine great land. They've had the chance to take the energy of this rich land. Everybody nodded. Seems like we have to pay more attention to the monster clan. Xianming had left a thought to warn us. He didn't want to stop our operation. This means he's moderate. Jet Ji rubbed his chin and then smiled. Good though. We actually don't need the monster clan to join us. They've been with the human clan for so many years. As they didn't experience the pain we had to endure, they don't have a big resentment against human clan. Be careful. Don't damage this forest too much. This place is the monster clan's territory anyway, said Bao Ao. Leaders of the other 4 clans couldn't help but nod. Xianming's intent domain had shown them the dangerous features of the land of the 4 sage beasts. They should be more cautious. No matter what era it was, the monster clan was always one of the strongest clans. During antiquity time, many races had been distinct through brutal wars. Even the most intimidating clan had to hide into the foreign land to preserve their bloodline. However, Monster Clan could stay unharmed in the divine Great Land. From this point, the intimidation of the Monster Clan wasn't just vain. Xianming's mighty power had left a big impression on these people. Inside the city, the sky was immense and hazy. Countless barriers, formations, and restraints that naked eyes couldn't see were set up everywhere thickly. Deep underground, tens of thousands of materials were piled up, releasing an impressive light. Streams of energy moved through the special channels to supply the barriers and formations, which made the utmost 8 purgatories city stand firm like a mountain. When the true God realm experts Lin Meng and Nyarua got into this place, they were dragged into a strange world. There were no sun, moon, or stars. They saw no mountains or rivers, but a tranquil, boundless area. So many invisible restraints and barriers were operating silently. Lin Meng's team felt like they were sunk into a mud puddle. Invisible tentacles stimulated their meridians and nerves, making them irritated. They all had the cultivation base of true God realm with a tremendous power. The energy in their bodies was like the erupting volcano. A tremendous energy fluctuated from them from time to time. They could even resonate their energy with that of heaven and earth to trigger that kind of power and creating unimaginable supernatural abilities. However, when they entered this area, their senses and connection with the heaven and earth were forcefully cut off. Their recognition seemed to fall into the endless darkness. The surroundings were pitch black. They couldn't see any object or any strange phenomenon. Their soul energy was drained, and their essence chi was weakened. The vitality of their flesh body was subdued by some invisible principles. Gradually, they couldn't control their blood and aura anymore. Aging, weakening, and reducing were the functions of the barriers and intent domain in this area. They could change the rules of nature, making its energy turbulent. Vaguely, the power of the barriers, restraints, and formations at 8 different corners created 8 doors that naked eyes couldn't see. However, souls could touch them. These 8 doors stood at 6 directions, including the east, west, south, north, up, down, while the other 2 constantly changed their locations. They formed the utmost 8 Purgatory City, which was the mysterious feature of this city. Lin Meng's group could feel this abnormality. They used their soul consciousness to survey the area, reaching the 8 doors to find the way in. They were holding sparkling divine weapons. Flows of vigorous energy surged around their bodies, creating some special shields to protect them. Lin Meng came to the door in the west. She was startled, her face grim. The original universe returning cauldron in her hands buzzed, as if it had spotted something strange. A woman who looked identical to her appeared. She wore the same clothes and had the same appearance and bearing. She even held the same original universe returning cauldron in her hands. Lin Meng looked at the woman, her face coldly arrogant, as if she were the master of the divine great land, and everybody had to submit to her. The aura of the other Lin Meng was totally similar to the original one. Even the original universe, returning cauldron, was magically similar. At this moment she was frightened. She frowned, as she thought that she was standing in front of a mirror. Was the west gate the mirror that could reflect her soul and her true colors? Lin Meng beamed a faint smile and snorted, her eyes chilly. In front of her eyes, the other Lin Meng laughed. Her laughter was clear. She rose her hand, flinging the original universe returning cauldron towards her. Lin Meng discolored in fright. Her soft body shook, as an intense anxiety swelled in her heart. When the other Lin Meng attacked, she was scared. The energy in her body started to drain, quickly. Even the original universe returning cauldron felt strange to her. However, the power that Lin Meng was using seemed to come from her body. How should she fight in this case? No matter she countered or not, she was already defeated. The other Lin Meng was using her energy. If she countered her, her energy would drain faster. This meant that her power would be consumed by double. Moreover, she was facing someone who was as strong as her. She would have no chance to win. Lin Meng's heart sank. In a dark place out of the city center, Nyarua brought the ghostly spirit sword, going south as his soul sensed. He was startled. At the south gate was the entrance of the 36 exterminating caves he was familiar with. The dark caves seemed to have many dark spirits. Nyarua was surprised for a while. Suddenly, he found that he had turned back to the time he was still a young man. At that time, to get the recognition, he had made up his mind and gone to the 36 exterminating caves. In that year, he was just a kid who no one had favored in the Devil Valley. He just had the nascent realm cultivation base. His teacher was killed, and he had to survive alone in the Devil Valley. The girl he loved had left him, telling him he was trash. No one wanted him. He knew he had no chance to grow. Eventually, he made up his mind. He should become outstanding or die anonymously. Also, at that time, he had experienced many deadly situations in the 36 exterminating caves. However, he was so lucky to find the ghostly spirit sword, which had been lost for so many years. It was the foundation for him to become the master of the Devil Valley and receive the others' acknowledgement. He finally had the chance to overturn his fate. He always knew that if he couldn't get over that challenge, he would have perished already. And today he stood here when a hand seemed to stir up time again. He was about to experience the pain he had carved into his heart that year for the second time. Chapter 667, Purgatory of Heart. Chapter 667, Purgatory of Heart. Qin Gu Chuan walked to the south gate. In his eyes, the south gate was a small city, Silver Firmament City, the city he would never forget. His wife and son stayed in the city. His son was just an innocent infant, and he loved him much more than his life. However, at this moment, he came here to slaughter the civilians in this city. His superiority had assigned him to not let anyone in this city stay alive, including animals, besides his wife and son. In this city, his wife's father was the traitor of the Heaven Temple. His purpose was to kill all the living things in this city, including his wife, his son, and his wife's father. It was a nightmare that never ended in his life. It had been so many years, but he couldn't forget the vision of that year. He had a never-ending regret. He had dreamed about his wife and son getting killed countless of times. It was his Mara, which had tortured him for the rest of his life. He had asked himself so many times whether or not he would kill them if he had another chance. Today his nightmare came true. He came to that city again. Qin Gu Chuan stood in front of the city, blood trickling from his eyes in place of his tears. He was crying in silence. Looking at the city, his heart convulsed painfully. Mara was like a sharp saber cutting his body, giving him so many wounds. The fight hadn't begun, but he got hurt severely. Guan, who came to the north gate. There was only one old man in a blood puddle. He had white hair outlining the face covered in blood. Deep sadness flashed in his eyes. He would never forget this old man. He was an orphan. Before he met this old man, he was just a little beggar. Every day he had to struggle for food. He used to fight with dogs to save his steamed bun. That old man had changed his life. He taught him and brought him to the Martial Spirit Palace so he could explore his potential. His teacher had decided to teach him, making him a successful warrior. Teacher. Tears lingered in Guan Hu's eyes. He pulled his hair, sorrowfully. The old man looked at him. On the senile face, which had been worn out by the wind and fog of life, laid the deep despair. Little Hu, do it. You come here to kill me, right? The poison you gave me still nibbles me from the inside. For the master position of the Martial Spirit Palace, you really want to do that? All because I didn't choose you? Tears rolled down on Guan Hu's face as he bit his lip until blood dripped. Looking at the old man, he clenched his fists. His fingernails dug deep into his palms, but he didn't notice it. Kill me. If you have the Martial Spirit Fruit Tree, the elders will recognize you. Isn't it what you want? Kill me. You will be the master of the Martial Spirit Palace. The old man shivered continually, like a flickering oil lamp that almost ran out of oil. But do you remember how pathetic you were that year? Do you remember who gave you all of this? The pledge you made when you bowed to me as your teacher. Is it still in your head or you forgot it long time ago? Do you remember the joy when you followed me? Are you sure you want to do that? Guan Hu cried silently. Looking at that old man, he couldn't lift his hands. Shi Yan, Yang Tian Emperor, and Li Jiangrong stood in the city center, frowning, looking at the situation outside the city center. They saw the 7 true God realm experts Lin Meng, Qin Gu Chuan, Guan Hu, Nia Ruo, Lu Miao, Yen Ku, and Wen Di standing with bewildered countenances. This formation is so evil. Yang Tian Emperor took a deep breath. He was frightened. The utmost 8 purgatories are the purgatories of the heart. Each of them will have to face the most painful choice of their life. Whether or not they can get over it, the result will still be sorrowful. Shi Yan said coldly. To some persons, although they made a decision that year, they will still regret it for the rest of their life. If they can choose the second time, it's hard to say if they can get over that challenge. Sometimes one could make up his mind for a painful choice in the past, but if he were given another chance to choose again, it isn't sure he could do that. Purgatories are always purgatories, Li Jiangrong exclaimed and then shook his head. If it were me, I could never get over it. Everybody would have times to make such painful choices in life. Nobody could avoid this. Some choices resulted in nothing. There was no correct or wrong there. No matter what they chose, they still had to bear the pain for the rest of their life. But they had to choose. Right or wrong, they had to decide anyway. No matter what the reason was, or whether one knew it was right or wrong, one had to opt something. In the utmost 8 purgatories, what Lin Meng's team was encountering was the most painful option they had made in their life. Either destroying themselves or the true love they had, they were the choices that had given them a deep pain for the rest of their lives. They always wanted the time to return so they could have another chance to make it up. Lin Meng's team was struggling sorrowfully, doubting the choice they had made that year. What they were facing was their own heart. Yuan Hao, Yuan Jiang, and the others stood 10 miles away from them, their visages complicated. Among this group, Lung Danqing and Shuangyu Zhu felt uneasy the most. Seeing Lin Meng's group, the group of true God realm experts, entering the city, they worried about how long Shi Yan could resist. When Shi Yan determinately left the Ice Emperor city, Lung Danqing and Shuangyu Zhu always saw a figure occupying their hearts and their dreams that they could never wash away. Shi Yan was in the city. He was just 10 miles far from them, but they felt he was somewhere on the horizon where they could never touch him. They wanted to enter the city. However, they understood that once they went there, the 7 ancient factions' warriors would gather to kill them all. They would never show them any mercy. The reality was always cruel. They could see, but they couldn't touch what they wanted. This would leave people an ache in their hearts. Perhaps we should have left with him that year. We've wasted so much time for nothing. The glorious time of a woman does not last long. We should have given up everything earlier. Lung Danqing pondered for a long time and then muttered. Shuangyu Zhu nodded. If we can meet him again, I will never let him go. Even if he has to die, I want to be with him, whether he wants to take me with him or not. Lung Danqing nodded heavily. The group of 7 ancient factions, He Qing Man and Chu Yanqing, had their minds as tangles as a bundle of threads. After Yen Ku had left, they always tried to press down their surging thoughts. Their fortune wasn't bad. When the endless sea fell into chaos, these 2 had jumped into the dark, magnetic, noxious mist. After so many perilous events, they met Yen Ku and became her disciples. At this moment, their realms were all increased. They were grateful to Yen Ku. However, after Yen Ku and Shi Yan stood on the 2 opposite sides, they suddenly hated Yen Ku. Thinking about the other tedious events they had experienced, they felt more resentful. However, they didn't dare to mention the friendship with Shi Yan. They didn't dare to expose their thoughts in front of Yen Ku. They understood their teachers. They knew what she hated, what she liked. They didn't have any hope in her. That year, when they decided to come to the dark, magnetic, noxious mist, they knew someone had been famous in this land already. That man used to throw a big stone into the lake of their hearts, which they couldn't move no matter how hard they tried. That was why they came here. Little Yen, are you sure? Yang Tian Emperor frowned, his voice uncertain. Those people are all brutal and heartless. They could even kill their wives and children. I think the utmost 8 purgatories can't kill them. At most, it could hurt them. Shi Yan was calm. But it's enough. Inside the utmost 8 purgatories, we won't be weakened. However, their realms will be oppressed. If they get hurt, they would be weaker. Yang Tian Emperor nodded and smiled. Seems like we need to battle at least once. Don't worry. After they break the Mara in their hearts, they will be weakened. Their realms could even reduce by 2 realms. The gap between our realms would be erased. Shi Yan beamed a faint smile. Yang Tian Emperor nodded. Boom! A red light overflowed from the original universe, returning cauldron. Lin Meng paled. She was weak, but she looked like a banshee killing herself, forcefully making away. Apparently, she was hurt severely. Her hair were disheveled, making her elegant figure of the past disappear. At this moment, she was more of a vixen than the rudest and unreasonable vixen. A divine light disordered in her eyes, and it seemed that her god soul had also gotten hurt. Killing oneself would be the most horrible experience to anybody. Even the owner of the Pure Land couldn't avoid this challenge. Lin Meng had used her energy. Although she won, it wasn't an easy battle. She had consumed at least 70% of her power. Finally, she had to hurt her host soul to get rid of the purgatory. At this moment, Lin Meng had only the power of a first sky of true god realm warrior. However, Shi Yan's group didn't dare to underestimate her because she still had a divine weapon. Lin Meng's realm wouldn't be degraded. Her understanding of heaven and earth had been quenched through many brutal battles. So, this purgatory couldn't weaken her real realm. That was the advantage of hers. Shi Yan's group was afraid of the most. Move! Shi Yan observed for a while and then suddenly urged. Negative energy swelled in his acupuncture points. He took the lead, dashing towards Lin Meng. Follow me. Don't leave the trail. Only staying on the trail saves you from the effects of the barriers and formations. Yang Tian Emperor's group flew out immediately. They didn't dare to linger. In a corner of the perpetual night forest, Yanlong, Shuai Lai, glacial armor giant alligator, silver-winged sky wolf, and 9-headed bird were walking back and forth worriedly. Many other beasts stayed near them. They all had a massive aura. Many of them had been refined by Shi Yan. Visible energy moved on their armors, like small streams. The 5 great experts of the monster clan were watching a small black ink jade, waiting for the order which the jade would transmit. I'm sure Shi Yan is scolding us for not being brave and grateful. This is his most struggling time, and we are hiding here without giving him assistance. No, it's not acceptable. We are the monster clan, and we aren't the cunning humans. Repaying favors is the rule we always keep. He helped us, so we have to help him. Yanlong shouted. Flame shot out from his body, making Shuai Lai and glacial armor giant alligator stay away from him. Xian Ming Big Boss doesn't say anything, so I don't dare to mess. But I want to go there and help him too, the 9-headed bird said with a begrudging complexion. Wait for him. Xian Ming Big Boss asked us to wait for him. If he doesn't say anything, we can't act rashly. The silver-winged sky wolf was calm. Don't worry. I think Shi Yan won't die that easily. That brat is cleverer than anybody else. He has many tricks. I can feel it. As the 5 leaders of the monster clan were discussing boisterously, the black ink jade glowed. The 5 people stepped forward. Just with a glance, they started to shout and yell at their soldiers. They were about to take action. The blackened jade showed 2 words written in the monster clan's old language. Get lost. Chapter 668. Hit until she vomits the pellets. Chapter 668. Hit until she vomits the pellets. Lin Meng had defeated herself. Although both her soul and body were hurt, her realm and experience wouldn't be damaged. And she still had a divine treasure. People who could defeat the challenge in their hearts were the ones who had dedicated their lives to practicing martial techniques. They had offered their will and their souls to the martial path. These people always had a will that helped them to not be afraid of anything. As they had something to hold on, they had to get their purpose by any means. Lin Meng crossed the gate, but she was affected by the barriers and restraints, which had reduced her power massively. This gave Shi Yan's team an opportunity. Otherwise, Lin Meng alone was enough to knock all of them down. Lin Meng couldn't enter the city center just yet. The place was shining in front of her eyes. But if she wanted to get there, she had to get through several thousand small barriers and formations. She had to use her body to neutralize their powers. As Lin Meng just got hurt badly, she didn't dare to trespass the area. Instead, she took out the magical pellets of the Pure Land and swallowed them to restore her power first. It would help her prepare for the next formidable attack. At this moment, Shi Yan, Yang Tian Emperor, Di Shan, Li Zhengrong, Bing Qing Tong, and Han Shui had reached her. They didn't say useless words, just attacking her right away. In just a blink of an eye, many secret treasures flew out from the passages. Their halo was as radiant as the sunlight. Different types of energy impacted, exploding like earthquakes bombarding towards Lin Meng. Boom, boom, boom. Lin Meng was like a rubber ball, falling and crossing through dozens of barriers after being hit by the energies and the secret treasures. Each triggered formation blasted, releasing the seething purgatory energy from underground, pouring on her body. An orange-red gauze cloak sparkled on her body all of a sudden. Small trees started to grow on this cloak, exposing their vibrant vitality with thick leaves and branches. Each blazing red leaf seemed to carry a kind of mysterious energy. Countless beams of energy hit on the gauze cloak, but the small trees were still growing. They could see that the trees were using their branches to twine those beams of energy. Lin Meng gripped the original universe returning cauldron. She snorted with a cold face, then gently shook the 3 legs of the cauldron. The massive cauldron turned upside down, just like a big upside-down bowl. Extremely furious gusts of wind came out from the mouth of the cauldron. They were like 1,000 wind blades that could slash any kind of flesh body. Bing Qing Tong and Han Shui were new in the true God realm. Seeing the gusts coming, they felt their souls were tied and squeezed. A head-splitting headache attacked them. The wind seized the chance and chased after the 2 women, as if it wanted to mince their bodies. Traitors! Lin Meng shouted coldly. Energy surged from her soft body, pouring into the big cauldron. The wind from the cauldron became fiercer. Watch out! Li Zhengrong's face changed dramatically. A storage ring glowed in his finger, as an ash-gray earth card flew out from the ring. When the earth card appeared, the entire land gushed out with the rhythmic beats of the earth. The card gradually expanded into a thick earth-yellow wall, shielding in front of Bing Qing Tong and Han Shui. At this moment, Shi Yan, Yang Tian Emperor, and the others were still urging their powers, releasing many seals and attacks, showering on the big cauldron. Under the fierce attack, the cauldron shook, causing the change of the astral wind's direction. Crack, crack, crack. The yellow earth wall created by Li Zhengrong's card exploded at the locations where the astral wind cut through it. The big part of the gust had deviated, but the remaining still crossed the defense of the earth wall, attacking Bing Qing Tong and Han Shui. Bing Qing Tong and Han Shui discolored in fright. They hastened to use the ice jade technique, creating a clear ice layer covering their bodies in an attempt to defend the sharp gust. Go! When Shi Yan saw the dangerous situation, he sent a flow of his soul consciousness, and the ice-cold flame flew out, turning into a cold flame cluster that covered Bing Qing Tong and Han Shui. As these two women hid in the passage, barriers and restraints didn't affect them. The ice-cold flame surpassed the astral winds, covering Bing Qing Tong and Han Shui. With the extreme cold power of the ice-cold flame, Han Shui and Bing Qing Tong immediately turned into two thick ice sculptures, with a dozen meters thick ice layer. Crack, crack, crack. The wind blew the thick ice rock, causing chips of ice to be scattered. Bing Qing Tong and Han Shui were solemn, urging their ice jade technique to the max to defend. The ice-cold flame assigned by Shi Yan was constantly releasing the icy energy. It recovered the damaged area, which kept the ice wall from being broken shortly. At this moment, Yang Tian Emperor Dishan and Li Zhengrong were attacking the cauldron furiously. Storage rings on Li Zhengrong's fingers released several different colored lights. Spirit-grade secret treasures rumblingly shot toward the cauldron. Dishan's black wings moved slightly as strange explosions echoed. His feathers darted out like arrows with black flames, coiling around Lin Meng's small hand, which was holding the original universe returning cauldron. Yang Tian Emperor bit his lips. A ruby drop of immortal blood, carrying a tremendous aura shot out, bringing the intent domain he had perceived in desperation. This power was intimidating. As the three of them united and attacked her at the same time, Lin Meng couldn't endure. She had to use a part of her energy to defend against these three. Shi Yan wasn't agitated. He was calm as usual. However, flames of anger appeared in his eyes. Negative energy rolled torrentially in his body. From each of his acupuncture points, strange tentacles jutted out. They were materialized from the negative energy. When the tentacles appeared, his recognition of energies suddenly increased by one level. Each active flow of energy moving around, and each different type of secret treasure with its energy had become pretty clear in his eyes. The energy's intensity and features had turned into numerous light dots that naked eyes couldn't observe, returning to this body through the tentacles. This helped Shi Yan not to miss any change around him. Light dots shot out rapidly from his eyes that looked like a soul-burning flame. He didn't even blink, gazing at Lin Meng. Gradually, a red hue rose from the bottom of his eyes. A subtle recognition ran to his host soul through the tentacle that was connected with his acupuncture point. Shi Yan was struck with joy. His hands trembled, since he had received a heavy energy. He fiercely condensed the two extreme poles of energy, life and death. It was time. Life seal and death seal merged, piling in the air. A death will generated from the seals, pushing out rumblingly like a real mountain. The death and life seal flashed, then disappeared, as if it had crossed space. When it reappeared, it struck precisely on the center of the connection between Lin Meng and her original universe returning cauldron. It was Lin Meng's left elbow, which had generated a feeble energy fluctuation. Each fluctuation connected to the big cauldron and manipulated the changing energy of the cauldron. Shi Yan had caught it. That fluctuation was the deep connection between Lin Meng and the cauldron. Once he hit it, Lin Meng would lose her connection with the original universe returning cauldron. Crack! The death and life see imprinted on the bone of Lin Meng's left elbow like a tattoo. A clear cracking sound echoed. Lin Meng's bone seemed as if it were broken by a steel weapon. In the next moment, the original universe returning cauldron that Lin Meng was holding suddenly flew around, as the control was lost. It hovered and circled above Lin Meng's head without a specific target. The astral wind in the cauldron also lost its target. It blew and twirled everywhere else. Numerous wind blades cut through the barriers and formations, breaking some of them. Crack, crack, crack. The ice layer covering Bing Ching Tong and Han Shui was cracked, but the cracking stopped at 10 meters away from them. Cold sweat soaked the two women as fear appeared deep in their eyes. They hastened to step backward before urging their energy again to get rid of the ice defense. Hit! Shi Yan shouted fiercely. However, his face was calm as usual. Yang Tian Emperor, Di Shan, and Li Jiangrong suddenly found the power in Lin Meng's body was disordered. The red-orange cloak seemed to have no energy anymore, becoming an ordinary garment. Different kinds of energies from the secret treasures fell on her gauze cloak. It appeared as if many punches had hit on Lin Meng's petite body. Blood trickled from her mouth, while more than 10 pellets that she hadn't digested yet were vomited out. They are all sacred, great spiritual medicines. Shi Yan, take them. Li Jiangrong suddenly shouted. Pellets Lin Meng spat out were as big as a broad bean, shimmering in a mesmerizing halo with vibrant vitality. They were floating in the barriers and formations like small pieces of stars. Shi Yan's eyes brightened. He didn't say anything and immediately urged a formation. People then saw a pair of delicate, small hands generated from energy, taking the pellets and flying back to the city. In the center of the city, Yang Zhua, Ling Meng, Chao Qiu Dao, and Fan Xiangyan were surrounding Long Zhu. They suddenly found some pellets falling from above their heads. These pellets had surging energy, which indicated that they were all the sacred grade pellets, the best things to recover wounds. Pure Land was one of the strongest forces in the divine Great Land. As they had been in the continent for several thousand years, no one could predict how rich they were. As the master of the Pure Land, the medicine Lin Meng had shouldn't be normal. Let old Long eat them. Shi Yan's cold voice sent to them from the exploding place outside the city. Long Ying's eyes brightened. She collected the pellets as if she were collecting treasures. Smile filled her small face. Shi Yan, well done. They're all sacred level pellets. Ha, hit her. Hit her until she vomits all that she ate. Chapter 669. Changes in Earth and Heaven. Chapter 669. Changes in Earth and Heaven. Blood covered Lin Meng's face. She looked sad, as if she had lost her son. Slowly, an extreme hatred emerged in her pupils. She had stashed those pellets for hundreds of years. If it weren't the critical moment, she would never waste them. However, she had spat out 1/3 of the pellets she swallowed. They were all sacred grade medicines she had collected for so many years. They were the treasures of the Pure Land. She hadn't absorbed the energy from the pellets yet, and she was walloped enough to make her vomit them out. It was a slap on her face which struck dozens of times. It was so hard to press such pain and rage. Lin Meng felt as if she wanted to burst out crazy. However, what got on her nerves badly was the disconnection between her and the original universe, returning cauldron. At this moment, Shi Yan, Yang Tian Emperor, and the others were swarming towards her. They were about to risk their lives against her. Without the original universe returning cauldron, she couldn't depend on her realm to perform the subtle attacks. Now, she could only depend on the remaining energy in her body. However, she had just swallowed the pellets and hadn't absorbed the energy from them yet. At this moment, her power was weakest. Shi Yan's group had seized the chance. They didn't hesitate to attack her maliciously. Different miraculous powers that looked like different halos covered Lin Meng's petite body shortly. She was like a leaf boat in the seething ocean. Dangers were everywhere, and the seawater could devour her at any minute. Nya Rua had experienced the challenge of the 36 exterminating caves again. After he could finally get rid of the Mara, he was physically and mentally exhausted. Just like that year, he was tired out like a panting dog. His vitality was worn out. He collapsed at the entrance of the caves. 36 ghostly spirits of the ghostly spirit sword were releasing their evil energy constantly to supplement his consumed energy. Typically, he always supplied his blood and flesh to these 36 ghostly spirits. If this case happened, it was only in one situation. He had no essence chi anymore. To break that mental challenge, he had to spend a bloody price. When Lin Meng got rid of her challenge, she had consumed 2/3 of her energy, and her soul got hurt. In his case, he lost it all. The essence chi halo in his body disappeared completely, with nothing remaining. Even his soul was like a dried well. Seemed like his soul was about to vanish. He was lucky that he had spent so many years to feed the 36 ghostly spirits with his blood and flesh. At the most critical moment, this divine weapon started to give him back part of power he had contributed to them. Nia Rua stood up, getting into the south gate. At first glance, he saw Lin Meng with blood covering her face. The original universe returning cauldron seemed to have turned into an unowned object. It was floating above her, but it couldn't help her with anything. Nia Rua's heart sank. He revealed his fright for the first time. Yen, was he really that dangerous? Lin Meng was the strongest among them. Looking at her distressed appearance, he understood that she had endured hardships. What was that kid's profile? How could he do that? Nia Rua suddenly regretted. He regretted that he didn't put Lai Feng's reminder in mind, and was so stubborn with his idea. Lai Feng was his disciple. However, Lai Feng's experience was totally different from his. That kid was an inborn genius of the Devil Valley. Lai Feng's natural endowment was several times better than his. His sensibility was somehow really precise. Also, he was lucky enough that he had met almost no obstacles on his cultivating way. From deep in his heart, he was jealous of this disciple, because the way he had taken to become the master of the Devil Valley was full of dangers at each step. More importantly, Lai Feng had a unique point of view toward the situation. Later on, the reality proved his assumptions were all correct. This was different from Nia Rua. It seemed each decision he made was correct. However, it often turned out badly with many troubles. Lai Feng used to tell him that Yen wasn't an easy opponent. In the future, this guy might become the overlord of a place in the divine Great Land. He could surpass Lin Meng soon. But he didn't believe him. Nia Rua had always had troubles during his whole life. That was why he hated the innate talents, including Lai Feng, the disciple he favored the most. However, the situation was going on the track his disciple had predicted. He figured out sorrowfully that he was wrong again. He was grudging. He wanted to overturn this mess. He wanted to prove that growing through challenges for many years like he'd done was the experience the warrior should have. It should be the natural trend of the martial path. That was why he stormed forward immediately. He wanted to help Lin Meng overturn the whole sky to prove himself, to prove that his efforts during his whole life were correct. He didn't believe in inborn talents. He believed that Mother Nature was fair to everybody. Seeing the situation going on the track of his thought, Yen calmed down. However, Nia Rua appearing here had broken his calm mind. Yen slightly changed his visage, shouting, Nia Rua comes. Take Lin Meng down for me. Yang Tian Emperor's group tried their best. They didn't dare to hesitate, nor were they afraid of getting hurt. Their attacks became more furious. Outside the city, Yun Hao, Yuan Jiang, and the others were watching the battle in the city center. They became grimmer as they felt something wrong. According to common sense, if the pagans were gazing at them, he and Yuan Jiang should have sensed something. But it wasn't like that. He and Yuan Jiang had some surveying, secret treasures. They always paid attention to any movement from 1,000 miles away. However, up till now, they hadn't detected the alien tribe's direction of movement. Something strange. Why can't we see the pagans coming? When Yen Ku and Wendy got here, they told us that the alien tribes were marching towards the perpetual night forest, didn't they? Yuan Jiang couldn't help but frown. Yun, how had soon sensed something strange. Hearing him, he replied quickly, "Did you feel anything?" "No," Yuan Jiang shook his head. Although the pagans didn't come, they couldn't cheer up. Quite the contrary. Their moods were much heavier than before. This meant something has gone beyond their control. Seeing a situation they couldn't control, everybody would feel tense and anxious. Suddenly, a strident screech came out from Yuan Jiang's sleeve. Yuan Jiang's face changed dramatically. He put the other hand into the sleeve, as if he were trying to listen to something. His face suddenly became dark and gloomy. "What's going on?" Yun Hao was frightened. They blocked the entrance to the ice and fire secret domain. Yuan Jiang couldn't endure it. His voice trembled. "The hotshots of the alien tribes. They didn't try to break in, but they have sealed the ice and fire secret domain. We can't go back." Yun Hao's face was ash-gray. He shouted, "How could it be? Only Human Clan knows the entrance to the ice and fire secret domain. How could the pagans spot it out?" Yuan Jiang suddenly thought of a possibility, then shuddered. "Some of us have been with the pagans beforehand." Yun Hao said ahead of him. His heart sank as he scratched his head in distress. Damn it! Someone is so shameless. Didn't they know that it isn't different from massacring the entire humanity? Fish mingles with dragons in our group. We have many types of people. Many have joined us from different corners of the divine great land. When the pagans attacked them in a situation where they couldn't avoid death, using their lives to entice them is possible, said Yuan Jiang miserably. Old Long! Yun Hao suddenly shouted. Old Long's right. He's right. Our ice and fire secret domain isn't safe enough. It can't ensure the everlasting flame of our human clan. Yuan Jiang was struck. He seemed to comprehend the whole picture shortly. They're still fighting. They're still fighting. Yun Hao's mood was agitated to the acme. Old Long was right. I know he's always right. We're wrong. It's us who made the wrong decision. Damn it. Lin Meng's team is still besotted. How could we continue this fight? We should get into the city. If Shi Yan knows the situation, perhaps he will accept us, said Yuan Jiang. In the perpetual night forest today, only this place can be considered a line of defense. The entrance of the ice and fire secret domain is blocked. If the traders support the pagans, they will enter the domain shortly. People who stay there can only be dead or enslaved. Yun Hao was dumbstruck. Damn, the alien tribes have blocked the entrance. Xue Mu from the 7 ancient factions shouted in fright. His face was distorted in distress. While they were looking at the city center, many people of that crowd who wanted to kill Shi Yan had received the news. They faced the sky and yelled. Their hearts were all cold and desperate. Everybody knew what it meant. The ice and fire secret domain was the root of their survival. It was the safest area in the divine great land. Because of having this safe base, the human clan dared to resist the alien tribes, as they weren't afraid that the pagans could extinguish their flame of hope. However, the entrance was occupied at this moment. Only human clans members knew where the entrance was, and they had set up many barriers to prevent intruders. Unless it was one of them, other people would never find it. They knew what this meant. There were some traitors in their organization. Someone had submitted to the pagans, the spoiled humans who had joined the alien tribes, to eradicate the human clan. These people deserved more hatred than Shi Yan's group, as they wanted to uproot the base of humanity. What should we do? What to do? What should we do? Anxious voices bloomed among the big crowd. everybody was scared. They felt the helpless and desperate feeling for the first time in this calamity. At this moment, no one could stay calm. No one was completely fearless. No one was still confident. Their families and friends still stayed in the ice and fire secret domain. When the pagans intruded the domain, would they have the fighting will to counter? Who dared to attack when his wife and children were hostages? How many people wouldn't care about their families? Even if they could fight, would they win? Could they stay alive from the attack of the 5 great alien tribes? Deep despair appeared in their eyes. At this moment, they finally recognized what kind of an *TTY decision they had made. Chapter 670, Engulf. Chapter 670, Engulf. Lin Meng and Nia Rua were fighting outside the city center. When these two joined hands, Shi Yan's team had their pressure doubled. Fortunately, they had tired out Lin Meng's power a lot. At this moment, she was like a dying lamp, and the connection between her and the cauldron was cut off. Nia Rua wasn't in his peak state either. The price to break the challenge in his heart was much more than what Lin Meng had paid. At this moment, he had to depend on the energy returned to him from the ghostly spirit sword, which wasn't enough to scare Shi Yan's team. Chao Chiu Dao and the others had come out from the city to join the force to deal with Nia Rua and Lin Meng. Shi Yan's negative energy emitted terrifyingly. He now had a clear cognition of every change of energy in the surroundings, as if he had many invisible eyes. He could see every beam of energy, which could help him grab even the tiny weaknesses of Lin Meng and Nia Rua. The star execution was activated. Starlight twirled around him gloriously like the Milky Way. Using his soul to control it, Shi Yan manipulated the starlight streams to coil around Lin Meng and Nia Rua. Negative energy fiercely poured into the death and life seal, carrying the intent domain of death and life. It turned into many heavy mountains, dashing towards the other two. At the same time, he had accumulated his energy to create the gravitational field. As long as it was the energy he could use, he didn't hesitate to urge it at all. Shi Yan had a sturdy build and many different evil changing energies. Moreover, he wasn't afraid of death. In the battle with Lin Meng and Nia Rua, he wouldn't fall to the weak side. However, his side still had Yang Tian Emperor, Li Zhengrong, Dishan, Bingqing Tong, and Han Shui. They were using many types of energy and secret treasures circling the area. Moreover, this place had many barriers, restrictions, and formations that weakened them. Shi Yan had soon entered the 3rd sky of Rampage Realm. Although his soul was clear and calm, his face was ferocious with 2 bloodshot eyes. Each flow of his negative energy was like a beam of light, releasing the pressure to the environment. 7 stars, brilliant world. Shi Yan shouted. The light twirling around his body suddenly gathered into 7 fist-sized stars. Each star looked like a big, dazzling diamond. Moving in the trajectory of the Big Dipper, the 7 stars rotated, crossing through the chaotic energy field outside the city center. It seemed they had pulled the power of the stars in the sky to use. The everlasting star intent domain emitted from each star. The 7 stars had formed a magical formation which could connect and use the power of the galaxy. In a fraction of a second, star power from the starry sky descended. Wonderful light exploded, mingling with the mysterious starlight. Nia Rua and Lin Meng were trapped in the star sea. They felt like they were teleported to the outer space. They lost their direction and couldn't gather the energy in their bodies. Go! Shi Yan pointed to the ground and shouted. A beast made of top-grade essence crystals soared up from underground. This crystal beast was created following the ghost hunter's true form. Scales covered its entire body with many strange, sharp thorns. It looked brutal and giant. As soon as this crystal beast emerged, it shot towards Lin Meng and Nia Rua. Lin Meng didn't react timely and the beast blew her away for 100 meters. His petite body rolled on the ground, and blood quickly covered her. The 36 ghostly spirits flew out from Nya Rua's hands like 36 gray chains attached to his body. Their aura was so frightening that it shook people's hearts and souls. These 36 ghostly spirits were condensed in the exterminating caves for several thousand years to gain intellect. They were the most unpredictable and evilest powerful creatures in this world. Ghostly spirits shrieked, flying around Shi Yan's team. They seemed to want to feast on their flesh bodies. 6 sacred armors. Li Jiangrong shouted all of a sudden. A storage ring flew out from his finger. 6 beast puppets appeared, protecting him from 6 different sides. These 6 puppets were forged from many types of rigid metals. Although they weren't as intimidating as the war devil, their aura was strong and frightening. When these puppets appeared, they were ready to die for their master. The fire of karma burned furiously from them as they shielded Li Jiangrong. These flames were the human flame that Li Jiangrong was innately gifted with. He had added the earth flame into these flames too. Although it wasn't as magical as the heaven flame, its energy wasn't too weak. Li Jiangrong was an alchemist. All outstanding alchemists had the human flame, which was fundamental to their career. 6 beast puppets shielded Li Jiangrong, preventing the ghostly spirits from attacking him. Afterward, Li Jiangrong sent his order to them, asking them to attack Nya Rua. Shi Yan seized the chance. His 7 stars sparkled, surrounding Nya Rua together with the 6 puppets. Shi Yan could see that Nya Rua's state wasn't as strong as Lin Meng. Compared to killing Lin Meng, killing Nya Rua was a better choice. Yang Tian Emperor, Di Shan, Bing Qing Tong, and Han Shui cooperated tactfully. They used many secret treasures and energies to attack Nya Rua together. Nya Rua was dependent on the ghostly spirit's sword to maintain his energy. Shortly, he had to bear all the pressure for Lin Meng. Under the attack wave, he didn't dare to attack anymore, just wanting to pull the ghostly spirits back to him. He used the ghostly spirit's sword to defend the attack. The ghostly spirits suddenly emitted a thick, murderous aura. 36 ghostly spirits lined up around him and looked like 36 exterminating caves. They seemed to form some eccentric, evil formation. Ghostly Spirit's sword was a divine weapon. It could attack and defend well. When it attacked, it was as sharp as a spear, and when it defended, it was tougher than a steel wall. 36 exterminating caves were the most mysterious area of the Devil Valley. They contained the evil energy of heaven and earth. Nya Rua was using the 36 ghostly spirits to model the 36 exterminating caves. It wasn't just for fun. When the attacks fell into the 36 caves, they would move through all the caves. After traveling through each cave, their energy would reduce. Moving through the caves for a while, the attack energy was drained. Nya Rua hid in the 36 exterminating caves, and they couldn't see him anymore. However, Shi Yan could use the formation of the utmost 8 purgatory city to locate Nya Rua precisely. He knew that Nya Rua was constantly changing his position. He never stopped at a cave for more than a minute. It was a divine weapon indeed. Nya Rua had his mind interlinked with the ghostly spirit sword, and he had nurtured it with his own blood and flesh. At this critical moment, even if he were a dying flame, it was still hard enough to kill him. Suddenly, Shi Yan's team didn't know where they should attack him. From the other side, the crystal beast was still bombarding Lin Meng. The beast had a flow of Shi Yan's soul, so it could control the barriers and formations of this utmost 8 purgatory city. While fighting with Lin Meng, it often used the power of the barriers exquisitely. As Lin Meng had to struggle to resist the crystal beast, she couldn't create any threat to Shi Yan. Divine weapon. Shi Yan frowned, looking at the miracle of the Devil Valley. He found that he couldn't attack the 36 exterminating caves or force Nya Rua to show himself. At this moment, Qin Guchuan, Guanhu, and Lu Miao had reached the critical time. They could break the mental challenge to get out at any minute. If they couldn't knock Nya Rua and Lin Meng down shortly, once Qin Guchuan, Guanhu, and Lu Miao got here, Shi Yan's team couldn't resist this force. They didn't have much time. Staying quiet for 3 seconds, Shi Yan gazed at the blood vein ring, the ring that had brought him so many miracles at the most critical times. He got this precious treasure right when he had just entered the Grace mainland, a spiritual treasure that he couldn't understand. Help me break the exterminating caves. Shi Yan sent his thought to the blood vein ring, then flung it towards the 36 exterminating caves created by Nya Rua. He didn't consider much, since he knew the blood vein ring contained a mysterious soul. It was the ring's spirit which had a life and was actually a high-grade life. Although Shi Yan had never talked to that living being, he knew it existed. Moreover, it was super strong. The blood vein ring turned into a blood light, falling into the exterminating caves under Shi Yan's pushing power. Suddenly, the connection between him and the blood vein ring disappeared. He didn't know whether it was the effect of the exterminating caves or the blood vein ring had gathered all of its energy and temporarily cut the connection with him. In short, although he was the master of the utmost 8 purgatory city, he couldn't locate the blood vein ring. However, Shi Yan still sensed Nya Rua's location. He knew that Nya Rua changed his location continually, as if he was trying to avoid something. Shi Yan could even feel that Nya Rua had seen something really terrible. Yang Tian Emperor, Di Shan, and Li Zhengrong cried in astonishment. Under their gaze, 2 of the 36 caves disappeared into thin air. Shi Yan gawked. Divine light shot out from his eyes, gazing at the exterminating caves. The exterminating caves in this place weren't the real ones. They were created by the energy of the ghostly spirits. A cave disappearing meant one ghostly spirit had vanished. That's why Nya Rua was frightened. He found that his ghostly spirits had perished. Under their attentive looks, the 36 exterminating caves disappeared one after another. After 10 seconds, around 10 caves had disappeared. What did that mean? That means something could kill or swallow one ghostly spirit in each second. Everybody suddenly recalled that Shi Yan had flung a ring into these caves. The ghostly spirit sword was a famous divine weapon in the divine Great Land. Nya Rua had used this sword to become the master of the Devil Valley that year. After he had fused with the ghostly spirit sword, he could swagger in the area and had almost no rival. What grade that ring was at? How could it make the ghostly spirits disappear in each second? Everybody was bewildered as they looked at Shi Yan instinctively. Suddenly, they felt this young man was too mysterious. Eventually, Shi Yan could connect with the blood vein ring again. He laughed because he knew Nya Rua was done. That man had no support now. Chapter 671, Behead. Chapter 671, Behead. The exterminating caves of the 36 ghostly spirits all disappeared. Shi Yan finally reconnected with the blood vein ring and found 36 dim, gray shadows in there. He knew they were the ghostly spirits. The blood vein ring had engulfed them all. The blood vein ring floated silently in the space of chaotic energy. A red light flashed, making it look like a strange eye, giving people an eccentric feeling. Nya Rua held the ghostly spirit sword, standing there with a pale face. There was no divine light in his eyes anymore. The ghostly spirit sword had lost all the ghostly spirits. I was no longer a divine weapon anymore. Its power was reduced by 70% to 80%. Now it was just a sharp, long sword with no aura or magical effects. Nya Rua wanted to vomit blood. His throat felt irritated, which was a sign of extremely exhaustion. In the next moment, he would have no power. Yang Tian Emperor and Di Shan were startled. They maintained a distance with the blood vein ring. They were afraid of that ring. It was terrible. The ghostly spirit sword was a divine-grade weapon. However, that ring had used around 10 seconds to make the exterminating caves disappear, washing away all the fluctuations of the evil energy. They all saw what had happened, but they weren't so sure still. They knew it was because of the blood vein ring, but they didn't know how it did that. Shi Yan extended his hand and waved. The blood vein ring returned, like a bird returning to its nest, falling in his palm. Shi Yan put it on his finger. The inner world, 5 devils dormant in his sea of consciousness, suddenly woke up, as if they had smelled delicious food. They followed his arm to get into the blood vein ring, then started to swallow the 36 ghostly spirits. Lately, the inner world 5 devils weren't the opponents of the 36 ghostly spirits. When they had just started the battle, the 5 devils had gotten hurt badly. However, 36 spirits were subdued in the blood vein ring. They couldn't even move. They could only shift in fear, not letting the inner world 5 devils engulf them. Shi Yan could feel clearly that his inner world 5 devils, which had been created by negative energy, were quickly swallowing all 36 ghostly spirits. The soul energy of the ghostly spirits was drained rapidly. The wounded 5 devils had restored themselves, and their aura and energy surged vehemently. Nya Rua's face turned ash-gray. He stood there motionlessly, as if he had lost his soul. Fear and despair swelled in his heart. "Kill him!" Shi Yan smiled brightly, pointing at Nya Rua. Yang Tian Emperor's team screamed and swarmed over, surrounding Nya Rua, just like they were slaughtering a domestic animal. Nya Rua was dismembered, being smashed into meat pulp. Without the ghostly spirit, Nya Rua's no longer had any bit of energy in his body, and the ghostly spirit's sword had become a normal sword. He couldn't be a threat to Shi Yan anymore. Shi Yan quietly released the soul-gathering pearl, and a strange suction force emitted from the bead. Nya Rua's soul at the second sky of True God realm trembled in the air, just like a tipsy man, floating towards the soul-gathering pearl. Swoosh! After Nya Rua's soul got into the dark bead, it then sparkled with a black light. It was the indication of abundant soul energy contained in the bead. Shi Yan was joyful. He smiled, as he knew that with Nya Rua's soul, he could let 4 or 5 people use the Creator's divine pond break through again. Nya Rua's soul alone was enough to support that magical formation for quite a long time. At the same time, an enormous flow of essence chi in Nya Rua's flesh body was gathering into streams of invisible energy, starting to roll into Shi Yan's body. Acupuncture points all over his body swelled, as the negative energy hovered around him and didn't disperse. It looked like a white mist expanding for more than 10 meters in just a blink. He was covered with that white mist, and the others could only saw his figure vaguely. Lin Meng's heart fell. Her soft body now bore many cuts and blood splashed everywhere. It was the work of the crystal beast. Since this beast was made of the top-grade essence crystals under the city, it could promote its power in the effective zone of the barriers and formations inside the city. These formations didn't hamper, but enhanced its power. Although a crystal beast wasn't Lin Meng's opponent, her wound was too severe, and she couldn't control the original universe returning cauldron. Lin Meng felt hurt and distressed. She could only dodge the attack, as she didn't even have any extra energy to counterattack. At that point, she saw Nya Rua falling. She wanted to help him, but she had no means. At the moment when Nya Rua's body exploded, Lin Meng felt a deep resentment rising in her heart. Why did they have to mess with this brat? This was the first time she felt regret. Let's welcome the master of the Pure Land, who never ages. Let her see our warm hospitality. Sure, Yen said calmly, but his eyes were cold. However, Lin Meng seemed to have her heart hit, her face ashen. It was just a crystal beast, but it was enough to make her struggle so much. How long could she endure when Yang Tian Emperor and Di Shan joined it? Yang Tian Emperor's group, of course, wouldn't regard Lin Meng. Hearing Shi Yan, they immediately attacked her. Energies and secret treasures shot towards Lin Meng like a shower. Lin Meng was trembling like a willow catkin. Her wounded body was like a flickering candle in the strong wind that could get extinguished at any moment. Meteors chasing the moon. Shi Yan gathered the power of the stars. Countless beams of starlight gathered in the void, creating a gorgeous flaming star tail. It made a beautiful curve in the air, carrying the intent domain of the eternal star, moving in the trajectory of the stars in the sky as it shot towards Lin Meng. At the same moment, he squinted, accumulating 3 flows of pure thoughts. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Sounds of weapons tearing the air echoed, but they couldn't see the weapons. 3 flows of cold and gloomy auras appeared. However, they weren't idle, and they could avoid the sensing of soul consciousness. Extreme anxiety arose in Lin Meng. She spat out a mouthful of blood, then started to urge her remaining power of the third sky of true God realm one more time. A cold, jade-like, sparkling stone chamber appeared next to her. It was made of her energy with pure aura, a little bit humid air and refreshing atmosphere. It gave people an intent domain of a beautiful and quiet place. The attacks of Yang Tian Emperor's team were scattered when they touched the small jade chamber. The roof of that chamber was decorated with many strange and exquisite crystals, as light rings rippled from it. Boom! The meteor hit the chamber shortly, making it tremble. This tremor made many crystals fall off the roof. Right after that, the 3 bone thorns, which were as sharp as the fang of a demogorgon, furiously thrust at the small chamber. Puff! 3 small holes appeared on the room. Lin Meng shivered inside the room as blood trickled from the corners of her mouth, rolling on her chest. After this strike, Lin Meng had used up her remaining energy. The energy of the 3 bone thorns had attacked her soul, just like maggots entering her bones. She shivered in the chill. The pure thought she had struggled to condense vanished. She failed to connect with the original universe, returning cauldron again. She could see the cauldron not far from her, but she couldn't summon it. Shi Yan's attack happened precisely whenever she wanted to connect with the original universe returning cauldron. The most furious energy would forcefully tear her effort apart. Lin Meng's tough was on the edge of getting shattered after several strikes. She couldn't even gather the hope to live. Eventually, she had a desperate thought of failure. When the warriors engaged in a battle, aura, and were the most important matters, much more than realms and powers. What Shi Yan had aimed at were these 2 features. He had pushed the master of the Pure Land to the edge, giving her a feeling of defeat. When this feeling arose in her heart, Lin Meng's realm was affected. After several failed attempts, she seemed to be defeated. Lin Meng's over. After Qi Tian Oldilong, Zhu had eaten more than 10 pellets. His face glowed gradually. He sat upright in the city center, facing up to watch the battle over there. Her realm started to get disordered. The realm of a warrior is his root. It's connected to the host's soul, and it shouldn't be shaken easily. Her aura, qi, and soul energy are all exhausted. The formation has affected her. Her soul got damaged in that mental challenge. And now, as Shi Yan's bombarding her, her conscience is torn. Yang Shui, Chao Jilan, and Longing didn't understand it at all, but they were surprised. Long Zhu beamed a smile and then explained. Simply put, what Shi Yan has destroyed are her innermost feelings. A warrior with a strong inner world won't be affected by pressure during fighting. Once her inner world is broken, the others can subdue her. At that time, she can't perform her best magical attacks. Oh wow, that guy is so cruel. Long Yin was happy. Long Zhu glared at her and harumphed, then said, "It's smart, girl. Only the smart ones can recreate a mental challenge from the opponent's inner world. Especially when he fights with someone whose realm's higher than his, he has to defeat his opponent's mentality first in order to win." Yun Hao, Yuan Jiang, Bei Si, Bei Di, and Zhu Yi had crossed the crowd of the 7 ancient factions, who were still sinking in the fighting mood, to reach the outer area of the city center. Yun Hao and Yuan Jiang exchanged looks. They leaped up, heading to the city center and raising their voices. Xia Qing Ho by Zhen Sung and the others were outside the utmost 8 purgatory city. Their powers had been drained in the purgatories. They couldn't get through the 8 doors, but it didn't affect their vision. They could see Shi Yan and Yang Tian Emperor's team were attacking Lin Meng furiously. Lin Meng would be killed at any minute. Yun Hao and Yuan Jiang threw each other a glance and shouted, "Please show mercy." Shi Yan frowned from behind the gates of the utmost 8 purgatory city, then shook his head indifferently. Cut! A blood thread flashed on Yang Tian Emperor's left hand. It coiled Lin Meng's neck, then tied it tightly. Puff! Lin Meng's head fell off her white neck. From the flat cut, blood gushed out, shooting aloft. Chapter 672. We Believe in Old Long. Chapter 672. We Believe in Old Long. Qin Guchuan, Guanhu Lumiao, Yan Ku, and Wen Di had broken their mental challenge. They finally reached Shi Yan's. At the moment they arrived, they saw Lin Meng being beheaded. Blood was still gushing out from her neck. Shi Yan waved his hand, releasing the soul-gathering pearl. When Lin Meng's head fell, he took in her soul. Yun Hao, Yuan Jiang, and the others were dumbstruck on witnessing the scene. Lin Meng was dead. The owner of the Pure Land, the supreme master of the Pure Land in the divine Great Land, was beheaded. Everybody who had seen it got stunned. They stood motionless, not knowing what to do. Lin Meng's death was like a punch pounding on their hearts. This strike was hard to imagine, but it had happened. They couldn't help but believe in their own eyes. All of a sudden, everybody halted. The entire area, no matter it was outside or inside the city, was tranquil. Shi Yan was calm, retrieving the soul-gathering pearl. He was happy, wearing a smile on his face. He suddenly recalled the humiliation Lin Meng had given him in the Dead Soul Mountain Range. She said that he didn't deserve Xia Xanyan and that he would never reach her. It was all because Lin Meng was the big mountain standing in front of Shi Yan. And today, Shi Yan had destroyed this big mountain brutally. The others then saw the ghostly spirit sword floating quietly. It didn't have any spiritual qi anymore, turning into an ordinary weapon. Its strange, evil aura had vanished. Where was Nie Ruo? Even Lin Meng was dead. Would he survive? The masters of the Pure Land and the Devil Valley, the 2 great characters of the divine Great Land, were both killed. It was impossible to accept. Seeing the black light sparkle from the soul-gathering pearl, Shi Yan couldn't hold his bright smile anymore. He laughed contentedly and said, "Fellows, if you don't have other business to do, I think you guys better go back to the Ice and Fire secret domain early. Otherwise, I'm afraid I will have to ask you all to stay here forever." Yang Tian Emperor looked at Xia Qin Ho. He saw the deep regret and despair on the other's face. After they had arrived in the divine Great Land, Xia Qin Ho had joined the Pure Land, as he thought that the Pure Land would be the place he could lay his future in. He had served the Pure Land with his best, even at the most critical moment when the Yang family had to face the biggest danger. He didn't even send them any news. He was loyal indeed. However, Lin Meng was dead. The Pure Land didn't have a master now. Would it still be the leader of the forces in the divine Great Land? Everyone knows it was impossible. Without Lin Meng, the Pure Land had lost its soul. It was hard to reach the peak again. And Xia Qin, how had lost his strong support. Sure, Yan had broken his support. Return to the ice and fire, secret domain. Yun Hao forced a smile from a distance, shaking his head. I've thought about it, but I'm afraid we can't go back now. Shi Yan was bewildered. He waved his hand, signaling Yang Tian Emperor's team to not be hurried. His mind flickered, reducing the power of the formations and barriers. What's going on? The 5 alien tribes have controlled the domain. There are traitors among us. Perhaps they would open the domain. I'm afraid that our fellows who are staying in there can't survive. Yun Hao released a long sigh. The ones who didn't know this news became frightened. They were all dumbstruck. Qin Guchuan, Guan Hu Lumiao Yanku, and Wendi had their faces ash-gray. They felt as if there was a bucket of icy cold water that had been poured on their heads. The heat of anger was replaced by fear immediately. So, Shi Yan felt funny. You deserve it. He looked at Qin Guchuan's group. Congratulations. Because you were stubborn, your families and friends have become the food for alien tribes. You guys are really awesome. Qin Guchuan's group shivered. Their eyes were bloodshot, as if blood tears would roll down at any minute. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to protect my little place here. It's good that my people are safe. Shi Yan's eyes raked through Yun Hao's group and stopped on Xia Qin Ho and by Zhenseng. The smile on his face became brighter. Precursor Xia, Precursor Bai, do you feel sorry now? You guys should have stayed in the city. However, you smashed your chance. Haha, interesting. Really interesting. Yang Tian Emperor and Qiu Dao felt incomparably pleased. Xia Qin Ho and Bai Zhenseng couldn't utter a word. Their faces were glum and grim, as they thought that this was the biggest humiliation in their lives. Shi Yan. Yun Hao's visage was solemn. Only your places considered the human clan's fort in the perpetual night forest. I hope you can consider the whole picture and let us in. Otherwise, we will have to stay in this forest and face the massacre of the alien tribes. Let you in. Shi Yan stroked his chin, frowning as if he were considering something. Yun Hao and Yu Wanjiang hastened to explain, wearing a solemn countenance, their hearts worried. Shi Yan. Qi Tian Oldilong Zhu didn't care that the medicines he had taken hadn't been effective yet. Flying out from the city center, he shouted even before he had reached Shi Yan. You've agreed with me to preserve the flame of the human clan. The alien tribes have started their operation. For the future of human clan, you have to consider the whole picture. Yang Tian Emperor and Li Zhengrong didn't say anything. They were waiting for Shi Yan's decision. Qin Guchuan, Guan Hu Lin Meng, Yan Ku, and Wendi were all panic-stricken, as they finally recognized that they were all wrong. Only Long Zhu had a wide vision. It seemed he had predicted the changes and development of the current situation. People who stepped back 3 miles and have the cultivation base under the true God realm can come in. I'll try my best to protect you guys. Shi Yan pondered for a while, then said, Shuangyu Zhu and Lung Danqing, and the people of the Ice Emperor City, Bei Si, Bei Di, and the people of the Banner family, Zhu Yi of the Wonderful Stone City, the Radiant God Cult, the Celestial Emperor City, and Fighting Union can get in now. The others who have believed in Old Long and retreated 3 miles, I will open the passage for you. However, you have to be under the true God realm. Then Shi Yan's thought flickered, as glowing passages were exposed. The others who don't meet the requirement shouldn't get in. If you don't care about anything and trespass our place, ha 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 ha. Don't blame me for being ruthless. The ones who had their names called were cheered up. Lung Danqing and Shuang Yuzhu were mentioned first. Their beautiful eyes reflected their ocean-deep affections. Their soft bodies slightly trembled, as they thought that their bitter persistence had been rewarded eventually. Yang Tian Emperor, Li Zhengrong, and Chao Qiu Dao stood at the passages. Thick energy fluctuated from their bodies. "Oh, right, Lai Feng." "Sure," Yen patted his head as Bing Qing Tong had reminded him. He smiled, looking through the crowd of warriors to find a cold, arrogant figure. "Lai Ji, long time no see. How are you doing?" Although Lai Feng was the master of the Devil Valley, his position wasn't high enough. He had to stand behind Yun Hao and Yuan Jiang. Some elders of the Devil Valley also stood in front of him. Of course, he couldn't step forward. Lai Feng heard his name called and was surprised, but he shook his head smilingly. "I should go with them. No matter what, I'm a member of the Devil Valley. You killed my teacher, so we are enemy. I can't receive your favor." Shi Yan was stunned, looking at him. He nodded and then said, "I understand Lai Ji has your limit. All right, I won't ask more." Then he extended his hand, pointing into the void. The ghostly spirit, sword floating next to him, turned into a beam of light, shooting towards Lai Feng. This ghostly spirit sword has no more ghostly spirits, but it's the Devil Valley's divine weapon anyway. Because of Lai Ji, I'll return it to you. If you can refine the ghostly spirits one more time, this divine weapon can be revived. Lai Feng grabbed the ghostly spirit sword, his face complicated. He couldn't help but sigh. "Shi Yan, how about us?" Yun Hao beamed a forced smile. Yun Hao was in the true God realm. Besides him, Yuan Jiang and the other masters of the small forces were all at the first sky of true God realm. Although they didn't go against Shi Yan, their realm was high, so they didn't meet the requirement. The masters of the small forces looked at Shi Yan, waiting for his answer. Shi Yan's face was solemn. He clasped his fist and then said, "Fellows, your realm is high enough. If I let you guy in, when something happens, it's hard to keep the city from shaking. If you want to get in, you have to help me with one thing to show that you don't have other thoughts." "What's that?" Yuan Jiang yelled. "Those people!" Shi Yan pointed at Qin Guchuan, Guan Hu, Lu Miao, Yan Ku, and Wen Di. "They are my enemies. As long as you attack them, you are my friends. I won't be worried about you standing on their side, or that you will let them enter the city later." This was a malicious move. When one sought refuge, one must show their loyalty. Although Yun Hao and Yuan Jiang's group didn't get along well with Qin Guchuan's group, their relationship wouldn't be so bad that they would kill the others. However, if Yun Hao and Yuan Jiang attacked them at this moment, this resentment wouldn't be solved easily later. And only that way would make Yun Hao and Yuan Jiang stand on the opposite side to the others. Then Shi Yan wouldn't need to worry about them, as they wouldn't stop him in the name of saving the human bloodline. Sure, Yan wasn't afraid of warriors under true God realm. Even if they wanted to betray him, he could kill them easily. However, if he let the true God realm experts like Yun Hao and Yuan Jiang enter the city when they had other thoughts, even if he were the owner of the utmost 8 purgatory city, he couldn't pay attention to them all the time. The city center was where he had set up the critical control formations and the energy source for the barriers, formations, and restrictions. If they didn't prove themselves, Shi Yan would never let them in. He must be careful. Yun Hao's group was startled. Qin Guchuan, Guan Hu, and the others were enraged. The flame of anger in their hearts was ignited instantly. "Yun Ji, Yu Ji, you guys still have another option." Qin Guchuan gritted his teeth. "Join us. Kill Shi Yan and his people. Then we will occupy the city and control it to counter the alien tribes. How about that? With you too, it's not tough to kill this kid." Yan Ku and Wen Di also advised them to believe in the 7 ancient factions, since Yun Hao's group wasn't a small force. If he joined the 7 ancient factions, Shi Yan's group would find it hard to withstand. Sorry, but we believe in Old Long. Yun Hao pondered for 10 seconds. After a silent period that could almost suffocate people, he said all of a sudden. Abruptly, Yun Hao, Yuanjiang, and some other true God Realm warriors started to launch their attacks towards Qin Guchuan, Guanhu, Lumiao, Wendi, and Yinkou. Chapter 673. Hundreds of Flowers Blossom. Chapter 673. Hundreds of Flowers Blossom. Yun Hao and Yuanjiang were at the second sky of True God Realm, the same realm as Qin Guchuan, Guanhu, and the others. For other masters of the small forces joined them, who were at the first sky of True God Realm. As soon as they moved, Qin Guchuan's team felt chilled, but the flame of anger was burning inside them. They felt betrayed. Yun Hao had been with them all the time, even though he wouldn't help them. However, they had never thought that Yun Hao and the others dared to attack them. Qin Guchuan and Guan, who had broken that mental challenge. They came here from the gates of the utmost 8 Purgatory City. When they reached this area, all of them had been damaged badly. Their souls and essence qi was lost by a big part. Qin Guchuan had many visible wounds, which were as severe as Nia Ruo. Normally, if Yun Hao and Yuanjiang wanted to approach Qin Guchuan's group, they also had to break the mental challenge and go through the gates. But it didn't happen the same way. Shi Yan was the master of the utmost 8 Purgatory City. He could control everything in this place. When his sea of consciousness changed, the city would change accordingly. When Yun Hao and Yuanjiang took action, Shi Yan just cracked a smile. A flow of soul energy rolled, and a wide, safe passage appeared in front of Yun Hao's group. As Yun Hao's group could skip the gates, they didn't need to struggle mentally. Eventually, they approached the 5 people of Qin Guchuan's group without a break. Moreover, 6 people of Yun Hao's team were covered in the halo of the utmost 8 Purgatory City seal. This seal floated above them, illuminating their bodies. This seal protected this group from the effects of the barriers and restrictions here. In other words, their energy wouldn't be weakened, as the barriers and restrictions of the city wouldn't affect them. They could always urge their power to the acme. Even the chaotic energy that Qin Guchuan's group had experienced had become normal under the light of the utmost 8 Purgatory City seal. Yun Hao's group didn't feel their essence, qi, stagnate in their bodies. 6 people of Yun Hao's group were stirred up, while the 5 of Qin Guchuan's group grimaced. Anxiety rose in their hearts. If it were a normal battle, the 6 people of Yun Hao's team were no match for Qin Guchuan's team. The 5 people of Qin Guchuan's group were at the second sky of True God Realm each, while the 4 masters of the small forces were only at the first sky of True God Realm. However, in the utmost 8 Purgatory City, Yun Hao's team wasn't affected. Quite the contrary, the 5 experts of Qin Guchuan's team had been damaged a lot under many restrictions and barriers. Under these circumstances, their realm and power weren't equal to Yun Hao's team. Yun Hao's team had the upper hand right at the beginning of this battle, when the light of treasures and different kinds of energies bloomed radiantly. Shi Yan felt calm, beaming a relaxed smile. It was unknown when Qi Tian Oldilong Zhu had come to him. Long Zhu's face was glowing healthily. His eyes could show his spirit, but his aura wasn't profound and torrential as it was before. Apparently, the old man hadn't recovered fully yet. Shi Yan, do you have to do this? Long Zhu's countenance was complicated as he sighed. Qin Guchuan's team's also human. You've asked Yin how to fight them, which isn't different from wearing out the force of the human clan. The alien tribes are still out there. I think it isn't good. Yang Tian Emperor frowned, but he didn't say anything. Li Zhangrong, Di Shan, Bing Qingtong, and Han Chui kept silent, looking at Shi Yan. Qin Guchuan's team wants to kill me. I'm not going to let them in. About Yun Hao, I just need them to be on the opposite side to Qin Guchuan's team. They don't need to risk their lives against them. In other words, I'm worried that they can't be determined at the critical time. If so, when we fight with the 5 alien tribes, I can't be more certain. Shi Yan paused, kept silent for several seconds, then said, Old Long, your wounds can't be healed that fast. Please come to the city center and watch over it for me. If something unexpected happens, please notify me early. As for this place, just let me handle it. I will arrange things properly. Long Zhu beamed a forced smile and nodded. He knew the young man was determined, so he returned to the city center without talking more. After he left, Shi Yan's thought changed constantly. Flows of pure soul energy turned into countless invisible beams of light, scattering everywhere. Passages glowed radiantly just like the doors of God, extending outside the city to make way for the other people. Lang Danqing, Shuang Yu Zhu, Zhu Yi, and the others smiled cheerily, following each other, walking in the light passage. From different passages Shi Yan had created, they entered the city from the secret corners. People who came here to act against Shi Yan, like Xia Qingho, Bai Zhensang, Feng Shao, and Xuanmu had their face gloomy and agitated. Some of those people hastened to get on the light passage to enter the city center. However, when those people stepped on the light passage, it then divided into different sections. Their section would explode shortly, leaving them as a pulp of meat. At this moment, Shi Yan smiled coldly, his mouth as sharp as a saber. His face gave people a deep fear, making them shiver. I told you, if you don't meet the requirements, you should wait outside. Otherwise, you'll die sooner. His eyes raked through many people, falling on Xia Qingho, Shenlin, Dongjin, and the warriors who had betrayed the Yang family. Headmaster, please spare us. Shenlin and Dongjin struggled from the crowd. Many warriors who used to belong to the Yang family kneeled down, begging. Master, please let us in. We were muddled. We are F*King A** Shoals. Please spare us. A warrior pounded his head on the ground, crying pathetically. He was like a stray dog, as he kept begging for Yang Tian Emperor's mercy. Shenlin and Dongjin screamed continually. Headmaster, we've been fighting for the Yangs for so many years. Even if we don't have merits, you've seen our efforts. We've made mistakes this time. We swear we won't repeat our mistakes. Everybody knew that the forest was no longer the same. Seeing Lin Meng and Nya Ruo being killed, they all were awakened. Everybody understood that they had underestimated Shi Yan's team. When they found that the alien tribes had blocked the ice and fire secret domain, they knew it was a serious mistake they could never make up for. They couldn't go back. In the perpetual night forest, only this city was considered safe. If they could get there, they would be safe for now, and they could even dodge this calamity. People who couldn't get in would be pitiful. The pagans would kill them shortly. Everybody feared death. Even if they were hostile at first, when the time came, they would show their real colors. Shenlin and Dongjin were the ones who had betrayed the Yang family. They had joined the alliance because they were afraid of death and the massacre of the alien tribes. But now, they wanted to return, begging for Yang Tian Emperor's mercy. You sons of B***itches that never learn. Yang Tian Emperor cracked a sharp smile, then shook his head and said, I've said it earlier. If you leave, you should never come back. You know how I am. Don't waste my time. After this, if the alien tribes haven't killed you, I will do that. His words were no doubt a death sentence for them. Yang Tian Emperor was the hero of the endless sea, but he was also cruel. How could he be a merciful person? Shenlin, Dongjin, and their people were ash-gray. Deep despair appeared on their faces, as they felt helpless and vulnerable. Shi Yan's eyes scanned through those people. Suddenly he was surprised, as his watchful eyes stopped at a spot. Wei Zhai and a dozen of warriors of Yanku and Wendy's team were bewildered as they thought that Shiryen was looking at him. After a while, they recognized his target. Wei Zhai and some young men turned away to look at the two beautiful girls behind them. They were stunned. They were He Qing Man and Chu Yanqing. It was unknown if they had intended to make themselves the most beautiful flowers among this group. The two girls from the endless sea had their beauty exposed, as if they were blessed with divine light, glowing gorgeously. Although they were in this perilous place, there were many young men beside Wei Zhai who drooled while looking at the two girls. He Qing Man and Chu Yanqing's beauty was shining gloriously. Strange light sparkled in their eyes as their hearts were filled with joy. He saw me. Finally, he saw me. The two girls screamed in their hearts. You two come here. Shiryen was surprised for a while, then nodded at them. A light passage glided over Wei Zhai's team, extending towards He Qing Man and Chu Yanqing like the staircase to heaven. Everybody was stunned with an odd countenance. Turns out he likes this type. Some people muttered in the crowd. Many girls who deemed herself beautiful got cheered up. They hurried to expose their beautiful figures, waving at Shiryen. Let us in. We will repay with our bodies. As long as you let us in, you can do whatever you want. There were some innocent teenagers, young girls, and mature women. They waved their hands, throwing him seductive looks. It seemed that if they got Shiryen's eyes on them, it would be their biggest chance to get rid of this sorrowful area and gain the right to survive. Shortly, flowers bloomed everywhere. Their charming voices echoed continually. The battlefield suddenly turned into the stage of a beauty contest. The ambience became ridiculous. Chapter 674. I don't need them. Chapter 674. I don't need them. Everybody misunderstood Shiryen. People who knew Shiryen had also heard about the ambiguous relationship between him and the 4 snowflowers of the Ice Emperor City. After this event, they thought that Shiryen was lascivious. Shortly, the beauties got excited. There were many girls with different styles, but they were all stunning. They started to show their appealing makings. Some started to draw their eyebrows. The others loosened the belt that tied their ample bosoms. Some showed their cutest smiles, while the others started to take off layers of garments, exposing their mesmerizing bodies. There were several hundred gorgeous ladies with different attractive traits showing their most prominent features, throwing flirty looks toward Shiryen, as if they hated that Shiryen hadn't waved at them. Pick me. Look at me. I'm the most beautiful woman in our city. Me. Pick me. I'm a virgin. I'm all clean. I know many techniques. I'm sure I can bring you the pleasure that will make you forget everything else. Don't pick her. She's a damn SL*T. She slept with many men. Choose me, I'm virgin. Many female members of the Pure Land, Heaven Temple, Martial Spirit Palace, Spirit Treasure Sect, and the Devil Valley were screaming boisterously. Both the sides became puzzled, their faces odd. Many young and middle-aged men became grim, as if someone had captured their wives or they were betrayed. Their wives, their women, and their lovers were screaming in that crowd. Many innocent, beautiful ladies in that group were the dreams of the other young men. However, they only dared to dream, and would never have the guts to show their admiration or love. However, at this moment, their women suddenly became the cheapest SL*TS. They tried to show their beauty to earn a chance to survive. Many people got so indignant that they wanted to vomit blood or just faint from this humiliation. Nobody thought that Shiryen's small move could stir up such a reaction. He made many women crazy. They are compelled to do so. When they knew that the alien tribes had blocked the ice and fire secret domain, and then they saw Lin Meng's death, despair had swollen in the bottom of their hearts, making them worried about their lives. If it weren't the essential time who would mistreat themselves like that, the charming and seducing enticement of the women had pressed down the curses of the men. But those women didn't recognize it. Their beautiful eyes still gazed at Shiryen, and they were trying to expose their most prominent sexy features. They hated the fact that they couldn't jump in his lap and lay him down on his back. Those women understood that as long as they could get into the city center, they could survive. To survive, sometimes people had to put aside their moral ethics and pride. To gain a chance to live, everything would be cheap. I can give you much pleasure. Please pick me, I'm begging you. I can do everything. Any position you want. Pick me, please. My sister, and I will serve you. We're still virgins. You men like that, right? My daughter and I will serve you. As long as you nod, we will be your female servants. I'm just 40. See, I'm not old. My skin is smooth and white. Look at my body, good enough, right? The crowd was still screaming and yelling. Many women were showing themselves and their bodies while trying to degrade the others. People outside the city gawked, as they were scared by the heat of those women's enthusiasm, including Shiryen. Looking at those beauties, seeing them trying to show their bodies to gain his approval, Shiryen had an awkward feeling. People did hear that a king had around 3,000 beauties in his palace. If Shiryen wanted, he just needed to nod or wave his hand, and those extraordinary, sexy women would come to him with great appreciation. He would never have to worry about his sex life for the rest of his life. Those women were all charming. They had practiced martial arts, but their bodies were great, with strong stamina and smooth, white skin. They were the best of the best. Those people would belong to him. As long as he nodded, they all would be his assets. He could enjoy a life of luxury, having everything just like a king. Shiryen was stunned, his face odd. Cough, cough. Yang Tian Emperor tried some dry coughs to get his attention. He grinned quietly and then pretended to be calm. Little Yen, I know you like them. You've done so many things for us. If you want, great-grandpa will agree. Haha, young man, it's all right if you have good health, you know. I understand. Swoosh! Some enraged looks were thrown at him, making Yang Tian Emperor tense. The smile on his face became awkward. They were from Bingqing Tong, Han Shui, Chao Jilan, and Li Feng Air in the city. They looked at him as if they wanted to kill him. You're old, yet you don't feel shame, right? Han Shui cursed softly, her beautiful eyes icy cold. Shameless! Bing Qing Tong shouted. She silently urged the ice jade technique, as she wanted to attack Yang Tian Emperor. Yang Tian Emperor was embarrassed, trying to change the topic. I think it's too much. Although Shiryan's strong, he couldn't call 100 women shortly. Bing Qing Tong's female group got a little bit better. I think 10 is okay. It will be exhausting if having more. At that moment, he felt the two flows of cold aura flood the area next to him. His smile froze on his face. Shiryen, if you like them, just choose some you want. Look, they are crazy and excited. If you nod, they will agree to do anything. Sisters, daughters, and mothers, etc. I have no idea if you want to take them. Usually, Chao Chiu Dao didn't talk much. His eyes scanned the crowd, but he didn't spot the different state of Bing Qing Tong and Han Shui. The old man turned around and suggested seriously to Shiryen, Great-grandpa, if you want to have someone to take care of you before you die, please do not talk much. Chao Jilan said through her gritted teeth. She had murderous intention on her face. Chao Chiu Dao was scared. He suddenly got something, so he shut his mouth and didn't dare to talk more. Everybody was young once. Yang Tian Emperor and Chao Chiu Dao had a wild time when they were young. So, they thought Shiryen would experience the same. Seeing many beauties offering themselves like that, they instinctively thought that he could accept them. The city center wasn't small. If Shiryen wanted, he could keep some women with different styles. In the old men's eyes, it wasn't a big deal. As long as he had the competence, it wasn't a problem if he were a little bit perverted. Cough, cough. Shiryen was embarrassed. He kept beaming forced smiles as he had some thoughts reflected in his eyes. Han Shui and Bing Qing Tong looked at him. Cold intention diffused from their beautiful eyes as they were eyeing him like resentful women. Sure, Yen shivered. Their looks scared him. He couldn't help but raise his hand. I have no different thoughts. Seems like you know those two little girls. We can accept them. We won't allow you to mess around with the others, though. Han Shui whined in a low tone, her eyes gloomy. The four of us have been with you. Aren't we enough for you? I won't allow you to be with the others. Otherwise, I'm sure you can't live well. Bing Qing Tong blushed. With her watery eyes, she stooped shyly. She could never utter what Han Shui had said, although she had the same ideas. I didn't mean it. Don't overthink. Damn it. Those two perverted old men made you guys think too much. Shi Yan was solemn, as his face seemed to pretend to be somehow sacred. Women aren't my purpose. Having fun for a while is okay, but I'm not going to let my heart be touched by true love. What did you say? Bing Qing Tong suddenly lifted her face, her white teeth clenched, and eyes as sharp as swords. Don't you dare repeat it again. No. I didn't mean that. That does not include you guys. We've got through the calamity together. Of course, you guys are different. Sure, Yen felt chilled as he cursed himself for not considering his words. He hastened to explain. Bing Qing Tong and Han Shui felt satisfied. They felt sweet in their hearts, smiling tenderly at him with their deep affection. Let those women find their way. I don't need them. Shi Yan imposingly swung his arm. Everybody, focus on bringing Qin Guchuan's team to heaven. Don't be careless. While he was talking, the crystal beast had opened its wide mouth and grabbed the original universe returning cauldron with his mouth. It then soared up to the sky and halted in front of him. He extended his hand, and the original universe returning cauldron flew out, falling into his palm. It flashed, disappearing into his storage ring. Boom, boom, boom. The original universe returning cauldron struggled grumblingly right after it got inside the storage ring. It was like a wild beast that wasn't imprisoned properly. It could escape in any minute. A wave of shaking energy emitted from the storage ring. It shook Shi Yan's soul a little bit, making his sea of consciousness surge. The original universe, returning cauldron, was the divine weapon of the Pure Land. Although it had lost its owner, this divine weapon had already gained intellect. The storage ring was struggling to constrain it reluctantly. Shi Yan's complexion changed. He took out the original universe, returning cauldron, and put it into the blood vein ring. The original universe, returning cauldron, was a divine tool with intellect, so it knew how to struggle. After it was put into the blood vein ring, it had released the resisting power. However, the blood vein ring emitted many layer-like, translucent membranes of chaotic energy, covering the cauldron. The big cauldron became still. It seemed like it couldn't wiggle anymore. Shi Yan was calm. Indeed, only a mysterious and magical thing like the blood vein ring could control the Pure Land's divine weapon and subdue it. Roar, roar, roar. At this moment, howling and screaming of beasts echoed from everywhere. Chapter 675, Marvelous Law. Chapter 675, Marvelous Law. Beasts followed each other, heading towards the city center from everywhere. Each of them was more than 100 meters long and had a tremendous aura. They were like moving clusters of dense energy, giving people a deep impression. Many warriors of the 7 ancient factions had a streak of deep fear in their eyes. They were petrified. They didn't dare to move, as they were afraid that the beasts would notice their movement and swallow them instantly. The perpetual night forest was the monster clan's territory. When Lin Meng and Nya Rua had first entered this area, they had advised their men not to provoke the beasts. When the beasts burst out crazily, they would be more dangerous than the other races. When these herds of beasts appeared one after another, warriors of the 7 ancient factions were frightened. As they didn't know the purpose of those beasts, they assumed that this wave belonged to the alien tribe's official invasion. Yuanhao, Yuanjiang, and the others temporarily stopped attack Qin Guchuan's team. They all frowned, looking at the movement above their heads. Qin Guchuan, Guanhu Lumiao, and the others were distressed. They had many wounds on their bodies, some reaching deep to their bones. Their overall strength was stronger than Yun Hao's group of 6. However, they got hurt getting through the mental challenge of the utmost 8 Purgatory City. In this area, they were suppressed by the formations and barriers, and they couldn't bring out their maximum power. Fighting with Yun Hao's team, who weren't affected by the magical city, they had fallen into the disadvantaged situation. When the beasts appeared, they seized the chance and took a break. They adjusted their breathing and used the medicines to restore. Shi Yan, where are you? We're here to help you. Don't say we're not loyal. It's Xianming boss. He didn't allow us to come. Blame him. It isn't related to us. Tell us who to kill. Just point at them. We will kill them for you without any hesitation. Yanlong, Shuelai, glacial armor giant alligator, and the 9-headed bird were screaming and yelling boisterously. Their voices shook the sky. Their level 8 subordinates roared and howled to increase their imposing aura. Suddenly, the beasts' roars flooded the entire city, shaking many people. Some warriors even had their souls affected. The part of warriors who had already entered the city felt scared, and then happy when they heard the beasts roaring. The monster clan had come to help Shi Yan. This finding had them shaken. They suddenly felt that this city was the safest place in this world. As long as they could stay in here, no pagans could harm them. The others who were left outside the city collapsed mentally as despair rose higher in their hearts. They regretted that Shi Yan didn't favor them and invited them into his city. Even the monster clan had a good relationship with him, so what else should he be afraid of? They were the monster clan, the overlord of the perpetual night forest. This force was always underestimated in the divine Great Land. Why did they trust Shi Yan and come to help him? Everybody was scared and indignant. They scolded Shi Yan for being shameless, joining the alien tribes. However, they were jealous of him that he could establish the relationship with the monster clan and have a strong support in critical moments. At this moment, everybody recognized that Lin Meng and Nia Ruo's team, the leaders of the 7 ancient factions, didn't have a functional competence. They didn't know that they should cooperate with the monster clan in the perpetual night forest. Quite the contrary, they carried out the secret operation to hunt the beasts. They had created a grudge against the monster clan. Wasn't it finding a way to death? What are you here for? Shi Yan faced up to look at them, his face bewildered. The fight is going to end. You guys came here to watch the fun play? Yanlong, Shuelai, and the other 3 were the 5 rulers of the monster clan. Hearing him, they started to observe the situation. The 5 leaders of the monster clan felt embarrassed immediately. Apparently, Shi Yan wasn't the weak side today. He seemed to have gained the upper hand. The city center stood unharmed and was a great support to Shi Yan's side. All of them had joined the construction of the utmost 8 Purgatory City. They knew that this city, which was built in an empty space, was divided into 2 parts, the outer city and the city center. The defense of the outer city was much weaker than the city center. In other words, Shi Yan hadn't used all of his tricks. He had some other forces he hadn't used yet. The ones who came to trespass this city had divided into 2 sides, and they were struggling with each other. Apparently, they couldn't threaten the city center. Those signs indicated that Shi Yan's side had gained the upper hand. Silver-winged sky wolf, scratched his gray fur clumsily. He was so embarrassed that he burst out indignantly, rolling his eyes at Yanlong while thundering. I told you, Sure, Yen has a tummy full of wicked intentions. How could he not be able to resist? Didn't I tell you not to be worried about him that much? You hurry my A***s. We couldn't help with anything. If you had listened to me and waited for a while, until the other races came here, he would have known our best competence. You fools, we came here at the wrong moment. He doesn't appreciate us. Yen Long and Shui Lai got scolded. They were embarrassed and timid. They didn't dare to snap back, as they secretly regretted their actions and pondered whether they had come too early or not. The bystanders couldn't help but gawk, especially people of the 7 ancient factions. They thought that they might get problems with their hearing ability. Since when did the monster clan become such an easy partner? Shouldn't those 4-legged morons ignite the fight right when they arrived? Shouldn't they get enraged and roar furiously when someone provoked them? Did they know how to joke or be embarrassed? Could the human clan and monster clan live in harmony like that? Even if they were stupid, from the conversation between Shi Yen and the rulers of the monster clan, they could see they had a really good friendship, so much so that they could even mock and tease each other. Although the monster clan and human clan weren't like fire and water in the divine great land, they still had a discreet and continual fight. Humans would take risks and trespass the monster clan's territory. They would gain a benefit from the beasts, or the latter would swallow them. The 2 clans had never sat down together and talked in harmony. They wouldn't treat the other equally. But Shi Yen had accomplished this hard task. He had established a friendship with the monster clan, becoming their partner in a real sense. They didn't have any resentment, and they could even tease each other, which overturned many people's thoughts. He isn't an ordinary person indeed. He can mingle with the monster clan pretty well. I don't know how he could do that. Lai Feng of the Devil Valley grinned, strangely, shaking his head. He's really dangerous. No wonder why he could stay calm while the 5 forces were attacking him. He does have cunning tricks. Perhaps his decision is correct. Old Long is right. The wind has changed. It's the trend of the development in the future. Other clans can live in harmony and survive in this land. It's the future. Old Long is the sage of our human clan indeed. We should have listened to him. We were wrong. Yeah, Lin Meng's team was wrong. Times have changed greatly, but they were too conservative. As they don't want to change, they will be discarded soon. Different voices arose in the group of the 7 ancient factions. Seeing Shi Yen and the monster clan join hands without any obstacles, they all realized the changes in the whole situation. They were finally awakened. In the city center, Chao Zhilan, Long Ying, Hiqing Man, Tang Yuannan, and the others faced the sky with astonishment. They admired and respected Shi Yen. Moreover, they felt proud of him. Such an extraordinary genius. It was almost himself alone dealing with the 7 ancient factions in their civil war. He could even ask the monster clan to help him proactively, and they even had time to tease each other. All of this showed that he had controlled the entire situation. Nothing had escaped his plan. Following a talented leader with a wide vision like that in the current chaotic situation was the biggest happiness they could gain. I told you, when he was in the endless sea, he could tease the stronger warriors like a toy in his hand. It was the same when he came to the divine great land. This man always creates miracles. People can only act as he has planned. The others will play the minor roles in his script, or even be mere sacrifices. Tang Yuannan smiled strangely, shaking his head while talking to Zhu Yi, Jimu, and Yuing. Everybody nodded in agreement on hearing that. When miracles happened constantly, they weren't miracles anymore, as they just became the fact. Sure, Yin seemed to prove that all this was no miracle. It could just be considered a thing related to the distinct aura of his. All right, don't make noise. I'm just kidding. I'm glad that you guys came here, be it sooner or later. Seeing the 5 fools of the monster clan still quarreling with each other, Shi Yen shouted impatiently. The fight hasn't ended yet. You came right on time. We can accelerate a little bit. Yanlong and Shui Lai had their eyes brightened. They opened their red mouth and asked excitedly, "Fight whom?" Shi Yan rose his arm, pointing at Qin Guchuan's group. "Them. Kill them. We need to prepare sooner. Thinking about the 5 alien tribes gives me a bigger headache." "No problem. We're here. Haha. I was worried we won't have meat to eat. These 5 look delicious. I like them. Haha." Shui Lai faced up the sky and roared. A thick, brutal, murderous aura shot straight into the sky. His flaming fur fluttered as he descended from the sky like a gold mountain and attacked the 5 people of Qin Guchuan's group harshly. Yanlong, glacial-armored giant alligator, silver-winged sky wolf, and 9-headed bird also swarmed over. They weren't affected by the formations and barriers in the city, using their real beast forms like a bulldozer to knock everything down. They were showing the savage face of the monster clan. Yun Hao and Yu Wanjiang exchanged looks, then dodged instinctively, not daring to stay. "Run!" The sad look on Yan Ku's wrinkled face disappeared. She shouted hoarsely, turning into a gray light and trying to escape. Wen Di paled on seeing her running away. He immediately used the escape technique to escape, like a fish plunging into the pond. He disappeared shortly. Chapter 676. Destiny pronounces your sentence. Chapter 676. Destiny pronounces your sentence. Yan Ku and Master Wen ran away in front of so many people. The 2 recluses came from 2 different regions and wanted to maintain the eternal light of human clan. However, at the most critical time they ran away. People felt it hard to accept this fact. They didn't want to believe in what they'd just seen. Also, at this moment, they finally realized who the real sage of the divine great land was, who was able to foresee everything. It was Qi Tian oldie Longzhu. When this oldie came, he had expressed himself clearly that he would stay on Shi Yan's side, which was the future of human clan. He was right. What happened had confirmed his prediction and vision. After Yan Ku and Wen Di left, Yanlong and Shui Lai's attacks would fall on Guan Hu, Qin Guchuan, and Lin Meng. How could they endure it? Still, they had Yun Hao, Yuan Jiang, and a person that hadn't attacked anyone yet. Shi Yan. How could they engage in this battle? How could they wish to win? Win their A*S. Qin Guchuan, Lin Meng, and Guan were like the flickering lamp that had run out of oil. Seeing Yan Ku and Wen Di escape, these 3 almost didn't think about anything but using the escape technique to run away as fast as possible. Sure, Yan hadn't had the time to react. The utmost 8 Purgatory City was simply a defensive formation. It didn't have a strong binding ability that was enough to prevent them from running away. Shortly, there was no enemy or target to aim at in the chaotic energy field outside the city center. Yanlong and Shui Lai screamed strangely. They were reluctant, walking back and forth, restlessly. Their red eyes raked through the remaining people of the 7 ancient factions, as if they were watching their prey. The targets of these gazes couldn't help but collapse under this ordeal. Hey, what should we do? Even Yang Tian Emperor didn't know what to do next. Seeing Yan Ku and Qin Guchuan leave, their people felt dispirited, as they had no will to fight anymore. They started to run away discreetly. People who ran away all had a relatively high realm. Perhaps they were the elders or the main pillars of their sections. They used their power and escaped this place to save their lives. Xia Qing Ho, Bai Jinsung, and Shenlin were in this group. Clean your sect. As for the others, you should arrange as you want. Shi Yan squinted, then frowned and said. Yang Tian Emperor suddenly flew out. Chao Chiu Dao hesitated for a while, then shot out, aiming at the traitors of the Yang family. Xin Lin and Dong Jin were like wild dogs forced into a corner under the hunter's chase. They scattered, running for their lives in different directions. Yang Tian Emperor and Qiao Dao stayed close to them. Qiao Dao disappeared into thin air. Shi Yan knew that the old man was using Shadowless Path. Xin Lin and Dong Jin would have no chance to escape or survive. Yang Tian Emperor avoided Xia Qing Ho's way of retreat. He was afraid that Shi Yan wouldn't feel easy to take action against Xia Qing Ho. Also, Xia Qing Ho wouldn't be killed that easily. If Shi Yan didn't want him to die, it wouldn't be easy to kill that old man. Xia Qing Ho was Xia Xian Yan's grandfather. If he died, Shi Yan and the Xia family would have a great dispute that would never be settled in peace. Yang Tian Emperor understood this. He also remembered his old acquaintance, so he didn't chase the other to a dead end. Shi Yan wore a cold and indifferent face. He didn't give any extra orders or chase after them. In his eyes, those people who couldn't get in the city would become the prey for the alien tribes sooner or later. Was anyone from Bao Ao's group nice? Would they show mercy and spare their lives? Leaving Xia Qing Ho and the others in Bao Ao's hands was the most appropriate ending for them, which also helped him save energy. Many people didn't leave. The beautiful women were still screaming and crying, trying to show their most prominent features to catch his eyes. They hoped that Shi Yan would refer them and let them enter the city. Besides, many low realm warriors stayed. They were only in the disaster realm or the sky realm. They didn't leave because they knew they had to die if they left the city. They understood their ability well. They knew that when people like Feng Xiao left, they would still have a chance to survive. But if they left this place, they would be finding death themselves. Since their realm was low, their power wasn't sufficient. They couldn't even fly. In this immense forest, without the protection of a strong leader, how could they survive? Yan Ku and Qin Guchuan couldn't even protect themselves. When they knew they failed, they only thought about protecting their own lives. Should they give their lives in the hands of such leaders? They made up their mind quickly. No matter what cost it took, they have to stay. No matter what they had to pay, they had to gain Shi Yan's approval to stay. As long as they could get into the city, they could survive. They just wanted a chance to survive. Almost 1,000 beauties and low-realm warriors were looking at him with longing eyes. They tried to smile, bending their bodies and using the sincerest attitude in the hope of survival. You guys can get in. As for what I've said, please understand. I just want to protect the city center. It's my route. If something happens unexpectedly, I can't handle it. Sure, Yan beamed a sincere smile and invited Yun Hao and Yuan Jiang. He was still a little bit ginger. We understand your worries. You're right. A leader of a small force at the first sky of true God realm bent to him, his face so friendly. You little brat, I can see that you used us to drain Guan Hu's energy and made them dispirited. Yun Hao snorted. However, he smiled brightly, waving his hands. It's okay, though. I'm glad that you've let the Radiant God cult's disciples enter the city. It's okay if you want to sign my dry skeleton. I just consider I'm devoting to my disciples. Yuan Jiang wasn't good at talking. He just smiled and said, Seems like I've made the best decision. Huh. If I hadn't stayed 3 miles away, I'm afraid I would have to run away with Guan Hu's team. Or you would have been killed perhaps. Bing Qingtong smiled, her beautiful eyes shining brightly. Yuan Jiang was shaken. He recalled Lin Meng and Nia Ruo's consequences and his heart chilled. He discreetly decided to be more careful in the relationship with Shi Yan. He shouldn't make any mistakes at any cost. Bing Qingtong had reminded them that even if he used to be a leader of a strong force in the divine Great Land, under the current circumstances, he couldn't necessarily protect his life. Yuan Jiang suddenly understood that this world had changed, completely changed. It was time for the previous generation to leave the stage. He suddenly felt dispirited and begrudging, losing his enthusiasm. He felt that he had suddenly turned old. We are joining hands to resist a strong enemy. For the future of the human clan, I'm sincerely asking you to not have any extra thoughts. In the coming time, we will have to struggle even more. These are the times when we need to unite the most. Shi Yan was sensitive enough to catch Yu Wanjiang's distressed mood. He put on a serious face, using an honest tone to talk to him. Brother, don't think much. If we can survive, we can do something for the human clan. If you have something that holds you down, you can't break through a new realm. Think about it, we've passed this challenge. Why should we let it hold us down? Yun Hao patted his shoulder and comforted him. Yuan Jiang nodded while smiling. I understand. I just feel a little bit sad. Ha! Don't worry. People in our realm won't be taken down that easily. Then, Yun Hao and Yu Wanjiang walked shoulder by shoulder towards the city center. The imposing aura of valiant heroes emitted from them once again. People who were invited had all entered the city, while Yang Tian Emperor and Chao Chiu Dao were chasing after the traitors. As Bingqing Tong, Han Shui, and Dishan had nothing to do here, they returned to the city center to adjust their aura. They had consumed a lot of energy in killing Lin Meng and Nero, although they didn't have the threat of the 7 ancient factions anymore. An even more dangerous force, the 5 alien tribes, were yet to arrive. They didn't dare to relax. They had to recover faster to counter the next wave of attack. At this moment, only Shi Yan and the people who hadn't left stayed outside the city center. They were looking at him with longing eyes, begging him. Those beauties didn't twitter anymore, as they knew that Shi Yan would soon give them his decision. His decision mattered for their lives. In this heavy moment, they quieted down, waiting for destiny to pronounce their sentence. Shi Yan rubbed his chin. He was hesitant, his eyes complicated. Those who were waiting didn't dare to breathe loudly. They were as silent as the dead. Some didn't even dare to look at Shi Yan, bowing in fright and despair. Shi Yan, you should leave a way out in every matter you decide. Long Zhu started to show his mercy from the city center, his face sorrowful. Do me a small favor. Considering I have helped you, save them. Chi Tian Oldie would always think about the human clan's future. All he had done was to protect the bloodline of the human clan. He didn't have any selfish thoughts. For this purpose, he could stay on the opposite side of Lin Meng, risking his life to save time for Shi Yan. He could even ignore his own life. He knew that when he said this, Shi Yan would feel unhappy, and it would affect their relationship. However, he decided to say it still. I'll give old Longface then. Shi Yan finally spoke up after an annoyingly quiet moment. His voice was calm and relaxed. We can let them in. However, they have to pay the fee. Essence crystals, materials, and secret treasures. They have to submit us everything. I want to select something useful. We need to prepare to counter the alien tribes. No problem. Sure, we can give you everything. No need to mention essence crystals or anything. Even if you want my body, I can give you everything. They were cheered up. Those who had been waiting finally saw the light of hope. They screamed and shrieked as they were elated on finding themselves protected. Don't babble. After you get in, you should give the materials proactively. Don't waste our time, Shi Yan said with a cold face. He waved his hands, using his thoughts to create the light passage. Then he walked to the city center begrudgingly. He didn't want to care about the stuff out there anymore. Managers like Yang Zhui stood at the light passage with their pens and notes. They were ready to summarize the submission with radiant smiles. Chapter 677. Another entrance of the secret domain. Chapter 677. Another entrance of the secret domain. Ice and Fire secret domain. Inside the grand hall of the Pure Land, many warriors still stayed. They were anxious, as if a fire was burning them. They were the people of the 7 ancient factions, including the Radiant God cult, the Martial Spirit Palace, and the Spirit Treasure sect. They were all gloomy and distressed. It's not good. The entrance has a big problem. Many warriors of the small forces have started to gather over there. I think they want to rebel. An elder of the Pure Land slammed his brows together as he was rubbing his hands constantly. He seemed to be very hurried. Standing next to him were the people of the Devil Valley and the Martial Spirit Palace. They were all frightened. Staying in the Ice and Fire secret domain were old people with low realms, far behind Lin Ming's team, who had left already. Those people were a blended group of many other smaller forces from everywhere. They wouldn't listen to the elders of the 7 ancient factions. The news of the blockade of the Ice and Fire secret domain had spread to the other side, which was like an ice cube melting in people's hearts. Everybody knew about the might of the alien tribes. Since the entrance was blocked, what should they do now? They had laid their hope in Lin Ming's team. They hoped that her team could find a solution. However, they'd been waiting for a long time, yet they had received no news from the world out there. They were all frightened at this moment. Unknowingly, more and more warriors of the small forces started to gather at the entrance of the secret domain, as if they wanted to go out. They didn't want to be like a fish in a tank, waiting for someone to kill them all. People of 7 ancient factions, who used to fight with the pagans, knew that they wouldn't take risks and fight face to face with the opponent. However, seeing the energy movement in the entrance become clearer as time passed, and no sign of Lin Ming's team returning, they started to feel hopeless. What to do now? Without their leaders, they were flurried and hesitant, not knowing what to do. Time flew while their worries augmented. Gradually, the news sent back from the entrance became worse and worse. Another news came to them. Traitors had started to attack the guards at the entrance. This news was like an exploding bomb, making them dizzy. They were enraged. There were traitors in their organization who didn't care about the future of the human clan. It was unimaginable to them. They couldn't believe that someone could be that insane. However, this news was true. They were too furious to keep their mind sound. After a moment of silence, they woke up in a freezing atmosphere, showing their despair. Another message came. They couldn't keep the entrance any longer. Everybody was flurried. It seemed like they had a bucket of cold water poured all over their body from top to toe, which extinguished their flame of hope completely. Miss Xia is still confined. Before Master left, she advised that if something unexpected happened, we had to release her and let her chair. The Pure Land's elder had stayed quiet for a while, but he recalled something all of a sudden and asked the guards to release Xia Exinyen and bring her here. Since they had lost the ones they trusted, everybody was shaken. They were dispirited to find out that their brains seemed insufficient at this moment and that they couldn't make up their minds. They quarreled with each other, mocking and scolding the traitors and rebels while sneering, but they couldn't give out an effective solution. Shortly, Xia Exinyen came out of her prison. She got the situation immediately from the others. Her face was as cold as water, frowning as she knew the situation was hard to resolve. What should we do now? Master told us that if anything happens, you should share. The elder of the Pure Land looked at her with an ash-gray hue covering his face. We should go to the other gateway of this secret domain and cross the chaotic abyss to seek the chance to survive. Xia Exinyen pondered for a while and then said with a sorrowful face. Afterward, the people became grim, looking even more hopeless than before. Impossible. An elder of the Devil Valley jolted up from his seat, his face malicious. Are you telling us to die? Our master has told us that no matter what happens, we can't go through that entrance. He said that no one would survive there. Once we enter that door, we will have to die. More people of the Spirit Treasure sect and the Martial Spirit Palace were screaming to show their objection. Xia Xianyan didn't change her visage. She only had a painful struggle reflecting on her jade-like face. I have only that solution. My teacher also said that the other entrance of the secret domain hides a tremendous danger. She wasn't sure that she could cross that entrance. However, the most important thing is that she didn't know where that entrance led to. Perhaps it's a dead end. But we have no other option now. Our force isn't enough to resist the pagans. If you stay, you will die or become slaves. As far as I know, members of the 7 ancient factions will be killed instantly. You won't have the chance to even become a slave to them. Is that what you want? The entire hall fell into silence. It was true. People who stayed would be killed mercilessly. They would never have a chance to survive. However, after they had arrived in the ice and fire secret domain, leaders of the 7 ancient factions had surveyed that area. They all agreed that it was a dead road. They had no means to predict what stayed in there or where it would lead. Everybody would feel fear instinctively towards unknown dangers. It was a part of the human nature. That was why they had never thought about leaving through the other gateway. The Pure Land will go to that gateway first. We'll move now. As Xia Xianyan saw them staying silent, she knew she couldn't convince them all. She pondered for a while and then let out a low shout to urge her people. Then Xia Xianyan took the lead and yelled, "All Xia family's soldiers, follow me. We will go to the entrance of the secret domain. We hope we will find a way to survive. If you want to stay, we don't care. I hope the 5 alien tribes would be merciful enough to spare your life." After those words, she walked away determinedly. Members of the Xia family from the endless sea scattered to gather their family members and followed Xia Xianyan. Elders of the Pure Land discussed secretly, then ordered their disciples to prepare. Finally, they decided to go towards the other gateway and seek a chance of survival. Elders of the Devil Valley Martial Spirit Palace, Spirit Treasure Sect, and the Heaven Temple hadn't decided yet. They were hesitant, considering the best solution. Soon they had another message from the main entrance. They had lost the entrance. The pagans were coming. This news had cut off the thought of survival in their hearts. Abruptly, they knew what to do now, despite their hesitation. If they stayed, they had to die. It was no doubt. But if they went to that unpredictable gateway, perhaps they could survive. Under this impasse, they finally made up their mind. They didn't hesitate anymore and shouted, then took their people to run towards the other gateway of the secret domain. In the ice and fire secret domain, flows of people started to move, stomping on the ice and lava everywhere, heading to an unknown future. They all felt heavy and dispirited. 6 hours later, pagans started to appear in the entrance. With the support from the insiders, the guards at the entrance were all killed. After the 5 great alien tribes arrived, all those who resisted were cleaned up effortlessly. To survive, they had to surrender. Pagans then planted the restrictions on them or controlled their families. Of course, some were heartless enough to want to seek riches and honor through the alien tribes. Soon, Bao Ao, Jieji, Kenny, Comoros, and Corpse Chief appeared in the ice and fire secret domain. A strange light sparkled in Bao Ao's eyes, extending ahead of them as if he wanted to survey something. After a while, he spoke up. "It's strange. There are no living people here. Where are the rest of the members of the 7 ancient factions?" A senile old man came over with a servile countenance. "Seems like they went to another secret gateway. That place is perilous. If they go there, only death awaits them." Bao Ao nodded, then casually clapped his hands. The old man's head exploded, blood and brains splashing everywhere. Crap! He knew they still have another secret entrance, but he didn't report us. Damn it! Oh. Members of the human clan shut their mouths, not daring to utter any word. They stayed silent like the dead. "We're here to slaughter. We also want to collect souls. Even if they die, we shouldn't let them die in vain." Comoros said maliciously, "We will go there now to see if we can take anything." His written charm scripture could absorb souls directly. His active participation was to collect soul energy to revive the patriarch of their ghost mark clan. Seeing the good nutrients about to perish, he felt bad and irritated. Bao Ao nodded in agreement. "Let's go." After 1 hour, Bao Ao's group reached a place where energy was extremely chaotic. There were caves cut through space, sparkling with numerous colorful lights. Those beams of light weaved with each other like gossamer. However, they couldn't see the inside of the caves. No human being was there. Damn it! Comoros got angry. The human clan has so many trashes. They didn't report us this situation. CK them. We've made a wrong step. We gathered here for nothing. Bao Ao didn't say anything, while Jieji also kept silent. Candy, Corpse Chief, and the creature of the Dark Clan in the dim halo were surveying the entrance, quietly. They were trying to sense the disorderly energy, as if they wanted to find something. After a while, the creature staying inside the dim halo protected by the 3 Yama King Abi, Haitian, and Hades sent its soul fluctuation to Yama King Abi. Yama King Abi slightly changed his visage. He shook his head and waved his hand. "We should go. Our Dark Clan won't enter that door. If you are interested in it, you can go. It's the chaotic space basin. If you want to die, you can go there and play. Our ancient Bao family won't join you." Bao Ao spoke after a while. He waved his hand with a dark face, signaling Gu Desi to leave. I'm not interested in it. I'm going to find Sher Yen and have a little chit-chat with him. If you want to go there, I give you my blessings." Jiet Ji glared at Comoros, who was still hesitant. He laughed and then took his men out of the place. Chapter 678 Soul Fragments. Chapter 678 Soul Fragments. The Dark Clan and the Demon Clan left. Corpse Chief of the Corpse Clan and Candy of the Dark Spirit Clan didn't linger either. They got out of the place quietly, leaving Comoros of the Ghost Mark Clan and his fellows there. Waiting until all the other tribes had left, Comoros's tense face relaxed. He released his soul consciousness, sensing around for a while. He found that all of the other 4 tribes had left the ice and fire secret domain. A green light shot out from his eyes, as strange, gloomy cries emitted from his sleeves. The written charm scripture, the Halidom of the Ghost Mark Clan, flew out. Under his control, it flew towards the entrance of the secret domain. Comoros sat down cross-legged, pouring his flows of pure soul consciousness into it. Shortly, the scripture diffused many beams of thick, mysterious Chi that seemed to never disperse. The written charm scripture flew into the entrance of the secret domain, slowly moving forward in the matrix of the colorful lights. If one observed, they could see many blocks of meat floating deep inside that unpredictable entrance. In a deeper place, soul fragments bobbed here and there. It seemed that they didn't scatter according to natural principles. Comoros was struck with joy, his eyes bright as stars. He started manipulating the written charm scripture even more carefully. The written charm scripture was like a giant mouth that would never feel tired. In that matrix of light, it was devouring the soul fragments, entering deeper into the place. The further it went, the more powerful the soul fragments were. Soul fragments in this entrance belonged to warriors with strong soul energy and profound realm. That area was bizarre, as if it could change the principles of heaven and earth. It could preserve the soul fragments, making them wander around the place eternally. They roamed around and never vanished. Magical symbols of the written charm scripture sparkled one after another, indicating that they had gained the energy from the soul fragments. The written charm scripture gathered more and more soul energy, while Comoros felt joyful receiving the response from the scripture. He was surprised on finding some mighty soul fragments deep in the entrance. The energy inside wasn't less than the soul of a true God realm warrior. Comoros was struck. He got it immediately, shivering while sitting on the ground. Those were just the soul fragments, but they weren't weaker than the true God realm warriors. How strong that soul was when the warrior was alive. King God realm. As this thought flashed through his head, Comoros wanted to swing his arms and shout. When the time came, nothing could stop it. He suddenly got to know that people who had gone through the secret entrance weren't only the low-realm human warriors hiding in the ice and fire secret domain. At some point far in the past, some imposing existences had entered this place and buried their bodies there as well. Due to the existence of the strange field that went against nature's orders, the fragments of their powerful souls hadn't vanished yet, staying deep inside the entrance. Only a special divine weapon, like the written charm scripture, could enter that chaotic space basin to collect the soul fragments, which could help repair the damage to the written charm scripture and revive their patriarch from the center of the ancient sacrificial altar. Comoros felt like he had drunk ice-cold water on a burning hot day. He felt refreshed, as if his pores were filled with joy. He was shaking in thrill. He had a premonition that not long afterward he would be able to rebuild the soul of the Ghost Mark clan's patriarch and revive him from the written charm scripture. How long had it been? It had been so long that he had almost forgotten the figure and the imposing power of his patriarch. If he hadn't used all of his energy to save the tribe, the Ghostmark clan would have soon vanished into the written charm scripture. His patriarch had used his power, and he didn't even regret that he would have to scatter his god soul to preserve the bloodline of the Ghostmark clan. The great, mighty patriarch of the Ghostmark clan had always been in the hearts of the Ghostmark clan's clansmen. They would never forget him. As soon as they had left the written charm scripture, they had pledged to resurrect their patriarch at any cost, as long as he could be revived. Comoros's face was cold. Malicious light sparkled from his eyes as he was calculating something. Among the 5 tribes, the Ghostmark clan was the weakest. Being the sage of the Ghostmark clan, he was mocked and disdained very often. Bao Ao and the other leaders wouldn't give him any face at all. It was all because the Ghostmark clan's force was weak. After so many years of being consumed continually, they had a significant loss that couldn't be recovered shortly. And that brat Shuryen. Comoros smiled fiendishly. So many resentments and sorrows vanished when he knew his patriarch would return soon. They had been waiting in sorrow for so long. Now it was the time to receive what they deserved. He almost shouted so that everyone could know that the Ghostmark clan, the strong force that had its name known everywhere, was about to rise again. Crack, crack, crack. Suddenly, sounds of impact echoed from the written charm scripture. Comoros seemed to have been hit, spitting a mouthful blood. He became distressed. The written charm scripture had entered too deep, and he couldn't see it for a long time. At this moment, he could only use the soul connection to feel its location. Comoros recognized that the written charm scripture seemed to have encountered something formidable in that chaotic space basin. It could be a formation created naturally, or something strange that could make the written charm scripture shiver in fear. Comoros hesitated for only 1 second. He decided quickly and retrieved the written charm scripture using his feeble soul connection with it. As soon as the written charm scripture got his thought, it returned to him, following the old track. After 1 hour, the written charm scripture fell into his palm from the entrance of the secret domain. All the ghostly symbols and words of the Ghostmark clan became lively like snakes crawling. Waves of strong, mysterious energy rippled from the scripture, hitting his soul. His body and soul got minor damage, but Comoros didn't care about his body, releasing the soul to sense for a while. He couldn't press his joy, facing the sky and laughing contentedly. Hot tears rolled down his face, without him knowing it. Patriarch, you're about to come back to life. Little Comoros had to wait for you for too long. Comoros cried and laughed at the same time, as if he were mentally ill. Next to the ancient tree, Bao-ao looked at the magic mirror floating above his head. A smile filled his face. The magic mirror was showing the city center where Shi Yan was staying. Bao-ao could see every face of the human clan's hotshots. That kid's good. I didn't think that he could kill Lin Meng's team. Ha! It's beyond our estimation. Interesting, really interesting. Jet Ji glared at the mirror and then laughed. Seems like we don't need to hurry. Yeah, first, we should send some men to kill the human clan members that escaped that area. After we clean them up, we will continue. We aren't in a rush. Bao-ao smiled warmly, turning around to order his people. Bo-rua, good to see. You two take our men and check the entire perpetual night forest. When you meet human beings, kill them all. Bo-rua smiled deliberately. She was riding a level 8 beast, holding a little girl in her lap. She smacked the girl and then chuckled. Yes, sir. Good to see and Bo-ro didn't talk much, riding their giant beasts and flying away like masses of black clouds. Jiet Ji was surprised for a while, then hastened to assign his soldiers. Camus, you fool! Why don't you move your 8 guests now? If you're late, we will have nothing to harvest. A group of Demon Clan's clansmen, standing behind Jiet Ji in black armor, immediately rode their beasts, flying away. Candy of the Dark Spirit Clan didn't say anything, sending a thought to his people. Shortly, the Dead Soul's evil lair appeared above an area where many human beings were running for their lives. Dark green tentacles extended from the evil lair, dragging those people. They were the members of the Aok family. Bai Jensung could only watch the tentacles of the Dead Soul's evil lair. He had no choice but to try dodging them all, trying to make a way to the edge of the perpetual night forest. Corpse Chief of the Corpse Clan also ordered his members, get underground and collect the corpses. Members of the Corpse Clan, except for Corpse Mount and Corpse C, started to get into the ground, disappearing shortly. Comoros hasn't come out yet. I think he does want something. Jiet Ji laughed evilly. He doesn't want to live anymore, I guess. No need to mention him. Even King God Realm experts have to die on entering that place. Never mind him. We should visit Shi Yan. When he gets out, he will find us. Bao-ao frowned as he disdained the Ghost Mark clan. In his eyes, this tribe was so weak that it wasn't worth his attention. How about you? Jiet Ji looked at the Dark Clan and the dim halo. Apparently, a creature was staying inside that dim halo protected by Yama Kings Abi, Haitian, and Hades. It seemed that creature didn't have a body. It existed in a mysterious soul form. Even he and Bao-ao couldn't see how strong that one was. They could only know that it had a strange living aura and the Dark Clan's aura. However, its energy fluctuation was something really special they had never seen before. Jiet Ji and Bao-ao were a little bit afraid of that creature. We'll go to the city where the human clan gathers, said Yama King Abi faintly. Jiet Ji nodded. He and Bao-ao exchanged looks, then slowly soared up into the sky. They drifted like 2 clusters of cotton clouds, moving towards Shi Yan City. Corpse Chief and Candy followed them closely, not waiting for Comoros. In their hearts, they didn't really appreciate the Ghost Mark clan, and didn't treat Comoros like someone at their level. Not long after they had left, the ancient tree emitted energy waves, and Comoros stepped out with a bright face. Strange gray clouds floated in his eyes. They were made of the extremely thick, mysterious Yin Qi, which carried a peculiar power. Comoros' aura had a total change. Although he stood still on the spot, the heaven and earth energy rolled towards him as if it were attracted by something. He was in the true God realm, but he only had 1/3 of his energy remaining when he got out of the confinement. Finally, he had restored it fully. Confidence came back to him, changing his bearing with it. Chapter 679, Drink. Chapter 679, Drink. City Center. Human clan, Winged clan, Dark Devil clan, and even the Monster clan were all busy. Under the arrangement of Yang Zhuo's team, people who were allowed to get into the city had submitted the materials to supplement the barriers, formations, and restrictions. Rare and precious materials submitted were arranged and distributed properly into the formations. At this moment, the city center became hustling and bustling. The cheers and compliments of women resounded continually. People who were allowed to enter the city felt lucky, as they were still alive after a big catastrophe. They followed Yang Zhuo's orders obediently. Yang Tian Emperor and Chao Qiu Dao had returned. The Yang family's traitors were all killed. Yang Tian Emperor didn't hate them for leaving the family, but he hated them because they had betrayed the Yangs. They had enticed the others to make them leave, promising them something good from the Pure Land and Martial Spirit Palace. The ringleaders of this plan were Feng Shao of Devil Valley and Xue Mu of Pure Land. They had used power and position to make Xinlin and Dong Ji follow them. These two didn't care about the friendship they had with the Yangs and decided to attack them. In Yang Tian Emperor's eyes, these people were worth 10,000 death sentences, so they were all dead now. Yu Rou and Yi Tianmo were in the true God realm after using the Creator's divine pond. When they came back with high spirits, they felt contented on seeing everybody safe and sound. In this chaotic time, following an imposing and wise leader was their luck. And luckily, Shi Yan was such a leader. Bing Qing Tong, Leng Danqing, Han Shui, and Shuang Yuzhu stayed in the city center, gazing at Shi Yan as if they were afraid that he would do something lustful. They all had upset eyes. Currently, there were hundreds of beauties in this city. Those women acted like they had taken aphrodisiac. When they saw Shi Yan, they threw him flirty glances, revealing their most prominent features, as if they hated that they couldn't lay him on his back and jump on him. In this area, only depending on the strong could help them live longer. Those women understood this principle well. In their thoughts, if they could have a night with Shi Yan, their lives would be secured and they wouldn't need to worry about the pagans anymore. They had used all of their tricks. As long as they saw Shi Yan, they would become enthusiastic, making the other men glare with jealousy. Sure, Yan didn't have much free time. He observed for a while and then sat down on the round platform in the center of the city. He started to concentrate his mind. The essence qi of Linmeng and Nianruo was too much. The energy of the two true God realm experts rolled torrentially into his acupuncture points, making them swollen and painful. While the essence qi was refined, he had to bear painful torture with a grimace. Fortunately, he had found the solution. Bingqing Tong, Han Shui, Leng Danqing, and Shuang Yuzhu were all here. When he couldn't resist the violent, surging negative force, just with a wink, the 4 beautiful snow ice flowers would help him vent out his lustful desire. That was why he didn't worry that the negative energy would turn around and attack him. At the same time, the 4 snow flowers would receive significant benefits from him. As they had just entered the true God realm, they hadn't accumulated enough energy. It would take them at least 10 years more to gather enough essence qi to reach the threshold of the next realm. Sure, Yan had helped them take a big step forward. The overflowing, massive, mysterious energy had been distributed to the 4 snow flowers and Longzhu. The abundant remaining energy had improved his entire body to an unimaginable level. Even his star martial spirit had gained a great benefit from the mysterious energy. The essence qi ancient tree in his abdomen had all of its branches turned as translucent as jade, filled with condensed essence qi. He just needed another time of recognition to enter the true God realm. He had made up his mind. After things were done here, he would enter the Creator's divine pond right away to leap into the true God realm. Under people's efforts, formations, barriers, and restrictions everywhere in the city restored their functions. Even the collapsed outer city now had many ugly dunes of soil jutted here and there after receiving the energy. When Shi Yen descended from the round platform, he found that it was good to have many people working together. Everything worked out well. He didn't see anything that made him worried. At that moment, Yun Hao and Yu Wanjiang came close to him with grim countenances. They told him that the ice and fire secret domain had fallen. This news didn't surprise him much. Since he knew the pagans had controlled the entrance, he could predict the situation. Shi Yen was still calm, just arching his brows. How many of your people are staying in there? Several thousand. Yun Hao smiled miserably. Low realm warriors, or the families of the elders. They aren't capable of defending themselves. Yu Wanjiang also wore a grim face, as his heart was filled with worries. We have no solution. Shi Yen kept silent for a while and then sighed. Press down your grief. Perhaps they were all killed. I can't help you. If you had stayed in the city center right at the beginning, it wouldn't have been that terrible. Yun Hao and Yu Wanjiang were dispirited. They knew their assumptions were wrong, as they had put the trust in Lin Meng's team, which resulted in several thousands of their disciples burying themselves altogether. Shi Yen tried to comfort them for a while. Next, he released his soul consciousness to control the utmost 8 purgatory city and reorder the chaotic forces to wait for the next attack. After 1 hour of quietness, 2 gray cotton masses of clouds drifted towards them from the horizon, appearing outside the city center. After a while, Corpse Chief, Corpse Mount, and Corpse C, the Dark Clan, and Kenny also showed themselves, standing together with Bao Ao and Jieji. All human beings in the city center felt tense instantly, their faces changing drastically. Everybody knew their responsibility as they started preparing discreetly. Haha, we meet again. You aren't ordinary at all. You could defeat the 7 ancient factions, causing them a great loss. Bao Ao rose his voice and laughed. Little buddy, won't you come out to see your friends? Corpse Mount and Corpse C, standing next to Corpse Chief, also felt nervous, gazing at the city center. Don't go there, Yang Tian Emperor shouted. Di Shan, Li Zhengrong, and Bing Qing Tong started to ask him not to leave the city center. He was the soul of the city center. If the city lost its soul, it couldn't generate its most powerful attacks or defense. They were afraid that the pagans were just trying to entice Shi Yen. The moment he got out of the city, they would kill him immediately. After that, they would demolish the city and extinguish the light of human clan. Sure, Yen frowned, then nodded. I understand. Then he turned into a beam of dim light, gliding above the wall, reaching the place where the disorderly energy of the utmost 8 purgatory city was hovering. He showed himself, smiling to Bao Ao's group. Hello. I wonder what you want to advise me for you to have traveled this far. I'm sorry, but the city's a mess right now. Forgive me for not inviting you to visit the city. If you want to find me for a drink, can we have it outside? Haha, good kid. I like you. Ji patted his thigh, his eyes bright. Right when he finished, he disappeared into thin air. A moment later, Ji appeared in the center of the utmost 8 purgatory city, as if he didn't care he was in the middle of danger. Jugs of garnet wine floated one by one in front of him. When he tore the seal, the enchanting smell of wine permeated the place, making people drunk. Come here. We should drink first. We won't talk any business. Ji extending his arm, and 3 jugs of wine flew toward Shi Yen. Shi Yan's cold face cracked a smile. All right. He took 1 step forward, as if he didn't know that dangers and the other alien tribes were waiting for the perfect chance to kill him. He walked until he was 3 meters away from Jieji. 10 jugs of wine floated in the air between them. Each jug was as big as a jar of rice, emitting the intoxicating fragrance of good wine. Sure, Yin didn't wait for Jieji to talk more. He grabbed a jug and drank it. In front of everybody, he faced up the sky to drink the liquor. His Adam's apple moved as he gulped audibly. At this moment, he looked like a boorish fella who didn't know he was in danger. Jieji was startled. He didn't think that this human kid could have such guts. He watched the young man with great interest. Gulp, gulp. Yin didn't say anything and just slugged like a cow drinking water. After around 10 seconds, he had finished a whole jug of wine. Yin bottomed up his bottle and talked to Jieji, who was standing opposite to him. I didn't spill a drop. I didn't disappoint your good wine and goodwill, right? Jieji beamed a smile, which then broadened into a wild laughter. Good. Enough heroic spirit. Haha, you kid, you're too bad. I like it. Pausing for a while, Jieji stopped laughing, looking at him with a serious face. You are human, and I'm a demon. Shouldn't you be afraid that I would poison your wine to kill you? Yin cleaned the trickle of wine on the corner of his mouth and then laughed loudly. Oh yeah, I should. However, I've heard that the demon clan is always upright. You will never use shortcuts or wicked plans to deal with the enemies. That's why I dared to drink the wine. Arg, if Comoros gave me this bottle, I would never touch even a drop. Jieji patted his thigh, his smile broader. He felt quite good when Yin was servile to him. Good. Straightforward enough. I like you. Then Jieji took a bottle and gulped right in front of Yin. He had no wave of energy surging around him, as if he hadn't put up any guard. Kill him. Kill him quickly. Many people in the city let out low shouts with great hope in their eyes. They all saw that Jieji had no aura or waves of surging energy on his body, as if he weren't taking any precautions. If Yin attacked him now, at least he could cause him to struggle or get hurt a little bit. Shut up. Yang Tian Emperor harumphed, glaring at those people. Most of them were the ones that had agreed to enter the city, the members of the 7 ancient factions and some small forces. They weren't too loyal, and their discrimination towards the alien tribes was deep. Yang Tian Emperor rolled his eyes while the other kept their mouths shut. They bowed down and didn't dare to say anything. Drink, drink. Bao Ao laughed for a while and then came to them. He casually grabbed Jieji's good wine and then slugged. Just like Jieji, he was relaxed, as if he were visiting his friend's house. The other couldn't sense the feeling of daggers being drawn in this scene at all. Chapter 680, Demon Testing Needle. Chapter 680, Demon Testing Needle. Yin, Bao Ao, and Jieji stood in the center of the utmost 8 purgatory city and drank as if they didn't see anyone else. The human clan in the city, along with the corpse clan, dark clan, and dark spirit clan outside the city, were all stunned, looking at the 3 of them drinking. 10 strong liquor jugs were drunk, and not even a single drop was spilled. We finished Jieji's wine, so shall we try mine? Bao Ao threw the empty bottle away, smiling brightly while looking at Yin. Yin was surprised, nodded, and then smiled. We shouldn't consider one side and neglect the other side. You are my guest. We will do as you wish. Good. Bao Ao roared and then swung his left hand. 10 new jugs of wine lined up, as a special fragrance of liquor permeated the area. Yin didn't hesitate much. He grabbed a jug and drank crazily in front of everybody. Strong liquor flowed down his throat, blending with Jieji's good wine in his stomach. When the 2 different liquors touched each other, it raised a furious heat in his internal organs. Yin was struck, as a streak of pain appeared in between his eyebrows. The blood in each of his vessels was boiling up, burning his entire body. Bao Ao and Jie Ji didn't drink immediately. They were gazing at Shi Yan without blinking, as a strange light flared in their eyes. At that moment, Shi Yan's body turned pink entirely. 2 faint flames emitted from his nostrils, which looked really terrifying. It seemed that he didn't feel pain. Under the attentive looks of the headmasters of the 2 ancient demon families, he pressed down the turbulence in his stomach and continued drinking, as if he didn't know about the change of his body. Bao Ao and Jie Ji studied him. Their eyes gradually brightened, as a divine light radiated immensely. After a long while, Bao Ao and Jie Ji exchanged looks. However, they didn't say anything but continued drinking. They looked a little bit strange, as if they had some deep thought in their heads. Is he crazy? Why is he drinking with the demon clan? In the city, Long Ying's small face was filled with an inexplicable surprise. She shook her head as she couldn't figure it out. She thought that Shi Yan was being stupid. Many people thought the same, but they didn't dare to utter their opinions, since Yang Tian emperors were raking through them as if he would kill them immediately if they dared to show their discontentment. They just bit their lips to prevent their tongues from slipping. Outside the city, Kanti and Corpse Chief, together with the 3 Yama Kings Abi, Tian, and Hades, kept silent as they were allowing Bao Ao and Jie Ji to act strangely. They just frowned, looking at Shi Yan. It seemed they had established a secret agreement with Bao Ao. They knew what the others were doing, so they didn't hasten to take action. Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea stood next to Corpse Chief. The 2 of them had intelligence and the inheritance of their clan. As their power grew, they weren't dull anymore. After watching for a while, Corpse Mount asked, "Master, is he okay?" Corpse Chief was sitting on a massive coffin. He looked like a 10,000-year ancient mummy in the deep forest, with fur grown all over his body. His fingernails were 1 meter long. Corpse Chief glared at Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea, then shifted his look to Shi Yan, who was still drinking. He spoke up with his unique, strident voice. "No wonder why you could befriend with him. This human isn't like the others. If the human clan's members are like him, we don't need to chase them to the dead end." Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea didn't understand much, still looking at their master with surprise. Corpse Chief didn't explain further. Shi Yan felt so hot inside, as if his blood was burning. Mist diffused from his body, actually containing alcohol. He suddenly felt the mark on his forehead burning scorchingly. As the heat was burdening him, a strange energy generated from his boiling blood started to gather at the mark on his head. The mark he was trying to conceal became clear and uncontrollable. Shi Yan changed his face as he found that the black ribbon he used to cover his forehead was burning. Soon this mark would be exposed. Shi Yan was worried. His blood was boiling torrentially. It seemed the blend of Jie Ji's and Bao Ao's liquors had created a magical change in his body, burning his blood and pouring the blood qi into the mark. Shi Yan understood that Bao Ao and Jie Ji had done something related to the mark on his forehead. Bao Ao and Jie Ji scrutinized him, seeing the black ribbon melting on his head. Their looks became odder. "Shi Yan, come out and talk for a while. Don't worry. If Jie Ji and I are here, no one will dare to hurt you. We should find a place and talk, okay?" As Bao Ao considered it to be the right time, he grinned warmly. Jie Ji nodded, turning around and throwing a look at Kanti and the Dark Clan. "If anyone dares to touch you, I'll make him miserable. Don't worry. As long as Bao Ao and I are here, you will be safe." Bao Ao's and Jie Ji's voices resounded to every corner. Yang Tian Emperor's group could hear them clear and loud in the city center. People from the city center started to advise him loudly. Yang Tian Emperor, Yun Hao, Yuan Jiang, and the others were telling him not to believe in the 2 demons. Bing Qing Tong's group of 4 women was even more flurried. Worries flooded their hearts. Only Qi Tian Oldie, Long Zhu didn't say anything. He just frowned, his face complicated. Shi Yan was dumbstruck. He furrowed his brows, pondered for a while, and then nodded with a red face. "Let's go." He threw a look over his shoulder and then shouted coldly, "No one's allowed to leave the city." Bing Ching Tong's group wanted to jump off the city to reach him. Hearing him, they didn't dare to act rashly. When interacting with other people, women should listen to their men to give them face. They had to keep this rule even if they didn't want to do so. Bing Ching Tong's group understood it well. Although they were worried about him, they had to listen to him. They came back to their locations with worries, praying for him to be safe and sound. "Don't worry, I understand." Shi Yan beamed a smile to the four women. Bao Ao and Jie Ji exchanged looks quietly. They left the utmost 8 Purgatory City. Also, they tried to avoid the Dark Clan, the Corpse Clan, and the Dark Spirit Clan, going deep into the forest behind the city. Shi Yan followed them. After they stopped, he appeared right behind them. Shi Yan forced a smile while asking, "What did you give me to drink? Why do I feel as if my blood is boiling, making me dizzy?" Jie Ji cracked a smile, then rolled his eyes at Shi Yan while scolding. "You stinky kid, don't show your contented smile to me. Bao Ao and I have treasured those jugs of wine for such a long time. Usually, we don't even dare to enjoy them. You have enraged me as you drank it all without being grateful." Bao Ao smiled and explained to him, "If you drink my and Jie Ji's wine separately, they will bring you a marvelous effect. But if you blend them, the effect will be stunning, you know?" "Huh. Well, I shouldn't explain the details. You can enjoy and feel it slowly. Of course, normal people won't be able to stand the mix of these 2 kinds of liquors. They will explode to death." Shi Yan discolored, almost jumping up from his spot. "I'm a normal human, too." "You aren't a normal human." Bao Ao and Jie Ji gazed at him with a serious look on their faces. "Why am I not normal? If you were a normal human being, you should have exploded to death already." "Unless you were at the King God realm," Bao Ao replied seriously. His face showed that he wasn't joking. Shi Yan was scared. "You have the demon clan's bloodline in your body. Otherwise, do you think you could survive until this moment?" Jie Ji laughed evilly. "I never expected that our demon clan could have an alien like you. Huh, those human beings have submitted to you, right? Not bad. Although the process is somehow beyond my expectation, the results are all right. A demon clan's kid rules the humanity. Haha, I do want to see it. I can say that our demon clan is about to thrive again. It's destiny." Shi Yan was petrified. He finally confirmed that the blood in his body belonged to demon clan's bloodline. When he saw Bao Ao the first time, he had this vague feeling. Otherwise, Bao Ao would never let him stay alive. He would have killed him shortly, instead of leaving a mark on his neck. Jie Ji rubbed his hands as he felt excited. He warmly patted Shi Yan's shoulder. "Don't worry. As long as you belong to our clan, no matter what happens, we'll protect you. Don't babble. First, we need to verify which branch he belongs to in our clan." Bao Ao frowned while his trembling fingers fumbled, taking out a silver needle. This silver needle was as long as a finger. With a close look, people would notice that it was hollow. The needle had some visible patterns on its body, which vaguely formed an ancient and exquisite devil formation. This demon testing needle could distinguish branches of demon clan using blood. After so many years, the demon clan's bloodline was scattered widely, and many families had gone extinct. Many other races had their blood mixed with the demon clans that only the demon testing needle could differentiate. "We don't need that mark anymore. I'll help you erase it." Bao Ao laughed, putting his fingertip on the mark on Shi Yan's neck. Then he gently wiped the mark away. Shi Yan felt an insignificant pain in his neck. He checked and found nothing there. "Come here." Drip 1 drop of your blood, and let us check which branch you belong to. Ha! A bold fella like you should belong to a brave and strong family. I'm sure about it. Ji laughed as he was so excited. Bao Ao also looked at him. Sure, Yin kept silent for a while and then nodded. All right, I also want to know. Then a drop of garnet blood flew out from his fingertip, falling onto the demon testing needle. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.